Yo, 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 yo. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Clips of the Week. It's been a minute. Actually, it hasn't been a minute. I keep saying that because I'm so used to it being a minute, but it's not. It's been a week, which is nice. We're getting consistency. But yeah, good to see y'all. How's y'all week been? Hope everything's been cool. Yeah, new surprise. Surprise, surprise. Contacts. I'm uh I'm in a new era of my life right now, so there'll be some changes. There'll be some changes, everybody, and I hope that you can stay with me, uh, and kind of like as I ease in these changes. There's a bit of a rebranding that I'm trying to do for myself because I feel like I can and I should do that. So I've received some comments about my glassesless um glassesless face. Most notably, the most notable one was actually my photographer, because he was suggesting, like, when I was doing some shots, I was thinking, like, back in the day I did some like shots without my glasses. Maybe I should like do some without. So I was taking glasses off, doing shades, glasses, and he was like reacting really well to that. So that kind of was like the final push for me to like go out and go get some contacts, and like, so, you know what, maybe it's time. Maybe it's time for me to finally go back. I used to always hate wearing contacts because in New York, especially like when I was in New York, man, just the wind is just so crazy. Like the wind like would just like dry my eyes out, and I have to carry some eye drops with me, and it was just, if something gets in your eye, oh god, bro, if something gets in your eye, good luck. That's it. It's you got to take these suckers out. It sucks. So there's like, I realized that like maybe I can just wear the contacts in I can wear the contacts in context, in situations that I feel safe to wear them in. So yeah, I've had to like resist the urge to do this. The phantom glasses. Oh yeah, wait, I forgot to put up the image. The clips of the week thumb. Fourth wall break. Oh no. There we go. But also I hate that like I can see the thing is, man, I've been told that I look younger, but like I think the opposite, man. I can see the freaking lines in my eyes now. I can see my age. I'm like, dang, man, am I getting crow's feet, bro? Like I can see the bags under my eyes. I can see so much stuff I don't wanna see. But I also do like the way I look without glasses too. So I'm like, it's something new. It's there's like different vibes that I can get to that I haven't gotten to before. So I'm gonna try that. But yeah, we're evolving. We're changing. We're moving in different directions. Um, oh dang it! I got called for a gig that I can't make, and I gotta respond to him saying I can't do it, which sucks. Um, Mike Clark, yo, that's sick. Do you guys want to start off the clips of the week by watching some Mike Clark at Smalls? That'd be kind of fun. It'd be kind of fun. That's a kind of fun way to open up. I don't want to spend the entire I don't want to spend the entire stream watching it, but we can look at it. Moke-san, ohayo. 今日はメガネかぶってないね。新しい、新しいイメージが見せてる。やってみている。Alright, so it's Smalls, right? Okay. いい感じ、ありがとう。ありがとうございます。コンタクト、あの、コンタクトを使っている。 It's during an intermission. Oh yeah, it is during intermission. You're right. Is that Mike right there? Who's he playing with? Who's in the band? Oh, it's Craig on tenor and Dave Kokoski and Claffy. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I'm very interested in seeing this. Maybe we can go back and look at some past stuff. I gotta put my headphones on. What's up, WB? Do I have to opt into the chill hang to receive live jazz reactions? What does that mean? I didn't know that. What do you mean by that? Where'd I get the Peachy bracelet? I got it from my mom. Found when I was when I came back from Japan, and before I drove down, or drove up here to New Jersey, she randomly found it. I think she found it in her classroom or something. Brand new, and like asked if it was something I was interested in, and so I was like, yeah. And then one of our friends here in the community, Amina, she suggested that I put it on my saxophone, so I did. Then it became my thing. Maybe we can go back and watch some of the first set. Oh, is this some of Mike Clark warming up? Is he warming up? Oh no, he wasn't warming up. Bro, Mike is one of the GOATs, bro. Like, period. Like, I love Mike Clark's playing, bro. Huge Mike Clark fan. I haven't seen David in many years. Maybe not many. It's only been like maybe 7 or 8 years. Maybe 7 years since I've seen him. Epistrophe? Okay. Swinging Mike. Yeah. That's exactly how I want to hear those drums, man. Hey! Good night, Rexon. Thanks for coming through, bro. See you. Exactly. That's the only correct thing to do. Yo, that's the only correct thing to do when you got that space. Man, like, y'all, if you want to get good at jazz, you gotta learn. You really need to learn phrasing. And I don't mean phrasing as in like phrase markings and slurs and all kinds of shit. You got to understand like 4-bar, 8-bar phrases. You got to understand like song form. You know what I'm saying? Like something always has to happen. If you can't play, right? If you're having trouble with your improvisations, shut up and like, like calm down, shut up, play some, like just stop playing in the 8th bar or something, or in the 7th bar. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just like, See if it makes sense. See if what you're playing makes sense, like across phrases. Don't worry about the chat. I was trying to figure out what you were saying, Flamenco. I was looking over. I was like, whatever. People are crazy. Who cares? But like, right? How do you do that? Oh my God, guys! How do you do that? How do you play that? You just gotta be open to 8 bars. You gotta be open to 8 bars, 4 bars, 2 bars. You gotta live in the, live in the poetry. Set up and delivery. There's tension and release, everything, but like, it's like one thing to be open, right, about stuff, like, and be open-minded, but to quote Richard Dawkins, don't be so open-minded that your brain falls out. I love that quote. That's like my favorite quote. I love it so much. Stefan Klein 7760. Which Stefan is this? Is this Big Stefan or is this drummer Stefan? Yo. Who is this? Hello? Who is speaking? Yes, we just did a Richard Dawkins reference in 2026. Let me know. Yo, what's up, bro? Junior. 7760. Special number. What's up, man? What? I love how you came in right when we were watching Mike Clark live at Smalls. I was just talking about phrasing and shit. But it's nice to watch some Mike right now. It's killing it, just swinging, just playing music. You know what I'm saying? Like, just being ready, just telling people got to be ready for every 8 bars. You got to be ready. That's 4 bars, right? What about like then that's 8 bars. You got time to set it up. That's like, you got to build in phrases. So 2-bar phrase. 4-bar phrase. 8-bar phrase. You dig? How would you practice this? Stop practicing so much. That's how you practice this. You gotta love you gotta spend more time like falling in love with music. You gotta like it takes time. Like, you're not gonna be able to do that like really quickly. It comes from like listening to stuff and being like, wow. Like when you have like a wow moment, that's how you know you've unlocked something. Whenever you have a wow moment, be like, okay, that. You know what I mean? Like, wow. It's like, it's those wow moments where you have those realizations. Like, you've been working so hard, and then you listen to something that you didn't listen to in 2 years. You come back to it, and you go, wow. You have them wow moments, and then you think, then that's when it starts to make sense. Mike swinging out. Yeah, bro. You hear this joint? You heard it, right? Listen to him. Let me do a thought experiment. Darth, what do you listen to? What have you been listening to since you were like 5 years old? How old are you now, and what were you listening to when you were like 5 years old? What's the music you grew up with? If you provide the information that you're comfortable with fast enough, we can also get through this fast. Because I didn't want to like do like a masterclass, but I think this can help everybody. I think talking about this can help people. So If you're willing to like talk about and divulge a little bit of your upbringing, I think we can like use that as like a way to like by kind of like helping you to get to something like this, it can help other people too. How do you learn to predict that stuff? That's the point. You don't predict it. You don't predict it. You just you live in it. It's a certain way of talking. Why do plot twists work? Like, can you be receptive to a plot twist in a story if you've never like, I don't know, you never read a story before or watched a movie or played a game? You know what I'm saying? Like, plot twists only work because they play with your expectations. $34. I've grown up with my mom's jams like that. Yeah, so you saying May just me, right? Like Luther Vandross, the time frame. Listen to R&B like H Time. You don't. So there's this. I'm glad you said this. Because there is. Okay, before I go into this, flamenco. You said we don't expect them. The reason why they work is not because we don't expect them. They work because we have something to expect in the first place. We have something to subvert. You can't subvert expectations if they're not there. If you grow up watching kids, you grew up watching kids media, right? Like you grew up watching like Superman or like, I don't know, maybe nowadays like people, I don't know what people grew up watching. Like what do kids watch? Steven Universe? I don't know. I didn't watch it. I'm just saying like whatever kids watch, right? We have all this media, Disney media, all sorts of stuff like that. Which is like, the same thing. What about children's media songs? Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, Mary Had a Little Lamb. Twinkle Twinkle Little Star is the first narrative example you have of like superhero saves the day. Da 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 da. That's like superhero saves the day. But if you go da 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 da, whoa! Baby's first plot twist. What about whoa? For those of y'all who like can't stand my singing voice and you can't understand what pitches I'm playing, you can hear the saxophone better. It's normal. The plot twist is. I just turned Twinkle Twinkle Little. You just turn that like little 4-bar phrase to like a 8-bar phrase now, because you know what I'm saying, like that's the plot twist. So, but like you need to have something to subvert. And the thing, if you tell me if you listen to Luther Vandross, that means that the biggest problem that people have when it comes to like learning how to play music, especially jazz, right, is that they think that jazz is like a separate thing they have to learn outside of the music that they already know. We gotta stop doing that. Like, you can't start with a blank slate. I mean, like, guys, especially if you, for example, for you specifically, Darth, if you like grew up like me, you're 34 years old, like I'm only 6 months younger than you, like if you 34 years old and you grew up the same way as me, your mom's jams, you probably black, if not whatever, like you grew up with this stuff. You already have, if you didn't, let's say you started playing saxophone at 14, you have 14 years of music that you should not throw away. That's 14 years of music you already got. So why are we starting from a fresh plate? People be like, people out here be like learning jazz, starting at 22 and like act like it's the first time they ever heard music in their entire life. Bro, you don't need to ask me about phrasing if this is what you grew up with. Bro, how do you need a better phrasing example than that? That's a 2-bar phrase, right? Like, how do you need a better phrase? You got the cheat code. So it's a lot of, especially black folks, man. It's so unfortunate. It's a lot of like brothers and sisters out here, black folks that grew up with this music that feel like that just don't access any of it because you feel like you gotta, because jazz is just this alternate thing. But Train do the same thing, man. Hey, Roy Haynes go boom. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the same thing. Like, but you gotta, the thing is though, you gotta ask, and you said like, you love how fast I can rattle off the Luther jams. I appreciate it, right? But like, also like, thank you for saying that. But like, you also gotta say like, if certain things impress you, right? Like, you gotta be like aware of what your level is. Cause like, if somebody's asking me like, hey, like, how do I get to this phrasing thing? How do I do phrasing, stuff like that? Like, if you can't do like stuff like what I just did, then like, yeah, you're probably not really ready to execute stuff on a tune like Epistrophe. Like, you still can't play the change. You still can't play a chord change. You still can't play a chord. If you can't rip your scales, you're probably not at a level to where you can even like comprehend this stuff. So like it's really important for people to understand where you're at. Like, just I am, every single stream, every single time you hear me talk, I'm gonna be the bearer and the annoying guy on your shoulder telling you to slow down, don't rush your progress. Start from if you can't do that, you can't be talking about this stuff. You dig what I'm saying? It's like yeah, man, like, you watch all these videos and it make you seem like you got to do it. See, that's what I'm saying. But Dart, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's the hard thing about being an adult, man. You're new to sax. Man, I feel for everybody starting in their 30s, man. Because it's like, you already know what music sounds like. You know what you want to sound like. You can't wait another 10 years. That's required. And honestly, it's going to take you longer because you don't have that natural sponge-like ability that a kid does, like, to learn stuff naturally. So if you're like in your teens, you can learn music super quick. Take advantage of it. Don't slack off. Because when you're 34, you're going to be like, I wish I started in my teens. But like, it's the biggest difference between like growing up, like with music at a young age versus, or like, no, the difference between being a kid versus being an adult is that like all the stuff that you learn that you're like supposed to like have a learning process for, right? Like, the growing pains of learning and messing up and learning you're wrong, or learning you're right or whatever, all the social stuff, you learn that stuff when you're young. It's a lot easier because you don't know what right is yet. You don't know what wrong is yet. You don't know all this. You're still growing through it. Like, and there's time to recover. The problem is when you get older, you're aware of your ideas being challenged. You're aware of like your sense of self. You already have developed a right and wrong in the world. Like, it's really hard to change. And so when you have to change, it's like, it's hard. And one of those things that like is hard is the learning process of, dang, like, there's all this stuff like phrasing. Nobody talked to me about phrasing like when I was 13 years old. They just said, play your scales. You know what I'm saying? Like, but as an adult, if you're like 34, you can easily be like, know everything. Adults have an easier time understanding that because if you're an adult, you can parse through information better, right? The one advantage that adults have to overwhelming bits of information is that we know how to filter, right? What's necessary for us or not. The problem with being 15, 16 is that if you're seeing all this information, you don't know how to filter what's, necessary for you or not. So you get anxiety. So that, like, I know I talked a lot about the disadvantages of starting jazz as an adult, but one of the disadvantages of starting jazz as a teenager, specifically in 2026, not in like 2006 when I was starting, but 2026 specifically, the issue is that we have so much information, we don't know what's important or not, because like we're learning, like if we learn for every one lesson that we learn in like Thursday morning jazz band, for every one lesson we learn a week from Thursday morning jazz band, we can go home and learn 500 lessons. It's terrible. It's really, really hard. And then we have questions like this. Like, what do you think about perfect pitch? Is it necessary? What do you think? Like, we have questions like this. You know what I mean? Like, do you know that the majority of musicians in the world and in history, everybody that you love, right? John Coltrane, Charlie Parker, Michael Brecker, all these guys, they didn't have perfect pitch. Miles Davis, like the greatest guys in history, like they never had perfect pitch. They didn't have perfect pitch. I don't think Sonny Rollins had perfect pitch either. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like these things and these ideas that we have. It's because social media is feeding us so much stuff Like, and socially, our surroundings are making us think all this stuff that we don't need to think. You know? Didn't mean to put a question mark on that. College is a program for military veterans to learn and play in a concert in the semester. I've been using Essentials book to practice. That's great. I love that you're doing that. I joined that program so I can learn an instrument. Beautiful. Program is a beginner band, advanced band, and ends in jazz band. So I want to eventually work into those later bands over the time I live here. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, if you're just doing that beginning band stuff, that's great. Perfect. Because, like, that's what you want, right? But, like, the problem is that it's going to take you a lot longer than a year or two to, like, get the stuff that I'm talking about, unless you're just like a genius. And you might be. I don't know. You might literally be freaking killing, which is great. But most people are not like that. So most people are going to have a hard time reconciling with these ideas. So, I mean, it's not crazy, YT. Like, I don't know how old you are. You might be a young kid, or like I don't know. Who knows? Like, like it's just something you just learn. You just learn that, like, perfect pitch is just, it doesn't matter how well you can hear if you can't use that information. Perfect pitch just allows you to get information quicker. It doesn't help you use it. Biggest reason why I say that you should just pick up a method book and get off the internet. Thank you. Yes. The irony of me being a streamer is that I make my money from people, like, not doing that. And that's why I make sure that all my content is, like, fair and geared towards being real. So that if you're watching me, at least you're watching something real and not, like, me shilling you something. At the very least, if you're going to procrastinate time from practicing and doing the method books and getting off the internet, at least watch something that's going to inspire you to do that later. I feel like it's fair. That's a fair compromise, right? So I appreciate you guys watching. But anyway, yeah, my clock is swinging. See what I'm saying? Bro, that's just being tapped in. That's just two guys that's been playing jazz for decades. That right there, that right there. That right there. That's playing together and just being in there. That right there, you can't practice that. That's just being out there. You just gotta be out here. You have to just be out there to experience that. There's no other way to get to that, what they just did, unless you just out here. Thank you, Flamenco. I love that. Everyone should direct their eyes to the chat message that Flamenco just typed. Because that's what I'm saying. The biggest issue that's going on, like, that's been going on, is that I noticed, with the reason I even started my online education journey, is that the biggest issue with the past 4 to 5, 6 years of jazz education being on the internet right now is that you can see all this stuff before someone tells you that you probably shouldn't look at it. Because, like, who am I to stop you? It's the internet. It's free. You can go look at whatever you want. Right? Like, just go click on whatever. But, like, if I'm talking about playing Angular, Angular playing versus, like, linear playing, right? Like, if you can't rip your modes yet, like, why are you even you can't think about that. Like, you're not ready for that. Shoot, man, like, if I'm playing Smash and I can't even short hop, like, fast fall, why am I trying to look at doing attack cancel bears with Roy, like, in Smash Ultimate? Why am I trying to, like, I can't even short hop and I'm trying to attack cancel? What's wrong with me? What are you doing? Like, but it's just a classic case of impatience, So I'm glad you came to that realization, Flick. You always have good realizations, though. You're on the right track. You'll be fine. But yeah, if y'all want to check that out, go ahead and check it out. Yo, Radio Friendly, thank you for the $10. Appreciate that. Thank you for the donation. What? Oh, you just promote. Okay, well, thank you. I don't do promotion. I don't do promotions. I don't do album promotions or band promotions on my stream. So, but thank you for the $10. I appreciate the donation. That's not something I do. Joker players when they constantly fish for the MK layup but can't play neutral. You get it. Exactly, Shua. Also, hi. I just dropped Airwick off at the train station. I was saying that you guys need to link up because he said that y'all under this said y'all are friends. Y'all should make something because it's too on brand for you to not make something together. Can I ask a bit of a leading question? I mean, I'm gonna start getting into some clips, but like it's UWB, so yeah, sure, go ahead. All right. Not a lot of React suggestions today. We have to go back in time to find some more. But that's cool because I have some stuff I want to react to too anyway. So, okay, I have seen this Bill Evans clip on rock music before. I have seen that, but there's some other stuff back here I have not seen. Okay, there's a lot of cool other stuff. There's some cool stuff we can look at. Okay. The stuff after the Miles thing. Yeah, that was the last thing we looked at in the stream. It's not that I'm not doing reactions to jazz tracks. If you didn't understand what I meant by I just meant like you were. It looked like you said introducing my band, which means that you were like trying to get a shout out. It looked like you're trying to get a shout out of me. Like you're promoting your band, and I'm not. I don't do that. I don't give promotions. Like you're trying to promote your band. I'm saying that I'm not. Yeah. Lion, unfortunately, I'm not talking about Persona anymore, and I don't really ever want to talk about Persona. I think I had made that clear in the J Music server some months ago, but like I'm not. I don't do Persona anymore. I have my reasons, but I don't want to associate myself with Persona basically ever again. If that ever changes, it's gonna take some pretty seismic like Goku versus Vegeta level stuff for me to get back into that. But I'm done. And I don't want to get into. I don't want to talk about it right now. I got to be careful not to changes for the Dragon Ball references. Beautiful. That's all I care about in life is Dragon Ball Z. I'm pivoting into a Dragon Ball phase right now. Like what I mean by like I've been watching Dragon Balls and Dragon Ball Z since like I was 6 years old, but like I've been showing Dom from the beginning because I was like, yo, you haven't seen Dragon Ball Z yet, so I've been showing him and like reliving all my moments again. So like this is probably like my 11th or 12th watch through. I lost count. But I've been watching a lot of Totally Not Mark's videos again and his reviews, and it's been like reigniting my every year or like every year and a half. I have this like kind of renewed inspiration, so I want to go like super deep back into like my Dragon Ball Z world. So like I'm doing that again now. So, but yeah, I gotta try. I'm trying really hard to not turn this into like a Q&A stream because it really is not. But oh, WB. Last time I was at your place, you and the house band played Trinkle Tinkle. Did we? Oh, we did. Oh, it's because I played it on drums. I was like, I don't remember. I was like, oh yeah, I was playing it on drums. Because I was like, I can't really play that melody because I never really truly learned, but I can sing it. And I was like, oh, it's because I was playing it on drums. How much is knowing the tune and how much is knowing the band? It's a leading question. It's only a leading question if you're like trying to make me say something, but it doesn't sound like you're trying to make me say something. Like I can answer this pretty earnestly. Like, but how much of what is knowing the tune? That's the bigger question. Like how much of what? I don't really understand. Like how much of what? Thank you, Quacker, for the $5, and thank you for the kind words about the new stuff. Love the new stuff. Thank you. Saw Lewis Hayes a couple years ago. Yeah, man. Listen, one of my first gigs after graduating from college, when I came back to New York after that summer, was playing with Lewis Hayes, and I'll never forget that. I'll take that to my grave. I was trying to bounce out the phrasing. Don't want to delay the reacts. No, it's okay. I'm just like really like curious what you mean by that. That's all. You been rewatching it with your friend? That's awesome. But Frieza art, listen. I'll say it. I said it once. I said it twice. I said it 15, 30 times, and I'll say it 100 times more. The build up from the Saiyan to the Frieza arc is like the continuity, the build up, the pacing to me is one of the best and important things to watch as an anime watcher, and just as a millennial in general, right? Like or a Gen Z person, whatever. That's extreme for the culture is extremely important to watch. It's one of the most important things, one of the best told stories in all of media. It's beautiful, it's great. The foreshadowing, the build, you can go back and pick apart everything, and no one does it better than Mark. I love how Totally Not Mark talks about it too, because like this is exactly the feelings I have. That's exactly how it's supposed to be. Beautiful. So much depth. Exactly. All of that week by week. That's the other thing. Is like the Cell Saga is also like a mass. It's a show, ironically enough, of improvisational mastery. Just unreal. Everyone should watch it. And thank you, Dan. Thank you guys about the EP, about the Dreamweaver single. I appreciate you guys a lot. Thank you. Can I ask what you meant with the quote of the Goku at the beginning of the last song he released? What it is. It's what the story's about. Power comes in response to a need, not a desire. You have to create that need. It's exactly what it means. Okay, what do we got here? What are we gonna look at? Ian, I say wait till the reanimation comes out. Not only that, I'm not a super fan, but I will say you can actually just watch Battle of Gods and Resurrection F, both of those movies. You can just watch those movies and just skip straight to the next arc. You can skip straight to Goku Black after that, and you're totally fine. Like, no, Universe 6. You can skip straight to Universe 6 arc, and you'll be fine. Do not watch. You do not need to waste your time. The movies will catch you up exactly. It's because the thing is the first two sagas of Super are just the movies like dragged out into anime form. So with like some exposition and some filler. So thank you for the $10, Master Sasha. New tier list win. That's a good point. I should do like a I haven't done the 3.0 tier list yet. You're not missing much, Loretto. Like, you should watch the rest of it just to complete it. But, like, that's a perfectly serviceable end to the show. Well, yeah, Darth. It's just that, like, Super just on so many levels. The reason I have such a problem with Super, which is why I love Mark talks about this too, as an OG DB watcher, right? Like from the 90s, there's so much that Super just disrespects about the original Dragon Ball Z that just really just makes me upset, and that's the reason why I'm like, and funny enough, in my opinion, Super doesn't get like, it doesn't hold water for me until you get to the manga bits that are not animated yet. Like once you get to the part after the last tournament, I've always been a GT prefer. Like GT has terrible problems, right? Like the first arc of GT is stupid. It makes no sense. However, right after that, the build up into the baby arc is terrific, fantastic. I love that. I think it's beautiful. Always loved it. I've always loved that, and I love the Black Star Dragon arc at the end too, the last arc. Because to me, growing up, that was the end of Dragon Ball Z. The thing I was just talking about this with my Thank you, Darth. Are you serious? My people who are super supporters and super fans and super loyalists, who disagree with me about Super disrespecting Dragon Ball Z, is Super Saiyan a form that is generated, right? That is acquired from intense hardship, struggle, you know what I'm saying? Like pain, loss, sorrow, earned through hard work and training? Or is it a tingly feeling in the back that you could just like, really? Really? You gonna defend that? Are you gonna defend that? Dude, you gotta defend that. You can so all this as soon as someone comes up to me and being like, Super's better than GT, I go, address this. Address this. But no, because like I think all Dragon Ball media has some merit to it. Like, for example, I'm not a Kai fan because I just prefer Dragon Ball Z, but I also understand that most people younger than me might have seen Kai first. So I give them the respect. And like recently, I was telling, again, my roommate about how I've recently gained a new respect for the late Chris Ayers as a Frieza voice. Because I grew up with Linda I was like, Linda's always going to be my Frieza. But then I've heard some performances from Chris that I thought were fantastic. And I can give it up to him. Like, there are some things that he does that are better than what Linda does in terms of the really tense, like, desperation moments. But Linda, I'm more afraid of Linda's Frieza. And I think that's the thing. Like, Frieza became more believable as a character for me. Like, Linda's Frieza is a more believable character for me in this exposition. He is a more impactful and emotionally gut-wrenching character from Chris's performance in the finale. So that's kind of the middle point I'm able to concede, like, you know, with the there is we can, like, I think Z fans and Kai fans should be able to, if they're objective, like, good media enjoyers, there should be a middle ground for like Kai fans and original Z Funimation dub fans to appreciate. I think hopefully there's like a middle ground that we can come to in that way. But unfortunately, yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of Super, specifically because of they just Speaking of which, is that Goku holding a Kirby on your desk? Oh, yes. It's not Goku. It's my favorite character in Dragon Ball Z. Well, my favorite power-up in Dragon Ball Z. It's Gogeta holding a Kerbo. It's Gogeta holding Kerbo. Because he holds the weight of he holds the power in his hands. Someone made this for me because Kerbo is like an important character in my in the J Music ensemble community. So yeah, the angel born in hell. There is lore, WB. You're correct. We have to find that picture. It must be in Splatoon chat. We have to like bring it over and migrate it to the PB Jazztopia server. Yes, that's what I'm saying. See, like there's a lot of the Dragon Ball Z community is just way too it's way too divided, right? But like we can come together on a lot of things. I'm not trashing on Super as a series. I think the final tournament in Dragon Ball Super, from a pure spectacle standpoint, you can make an argument for it being the most hype thing that happened in all of Dragon Ball, like in the Dragon Ball franchise. The art, it's the peak of they threw the entire wallet, they threw the bank at the animation budget. Like they got all the best guys. It's great. It's fun. It's beautiful. I'm a Dragon Ball fan. I love all of it. The problem is, Jiren is not a believable character. He's not a character I can relate to. He is literally just another wall for Goku to go through. That's it. Like, there's nothing. He doesn't say anything, doesn't do anything. And I'm so when I was feeling so weird about this, like when I first watched through it and then read the manga again to see if I felt different about it and still felt the same way. Years later, I see Totally Not Mark's review about it and I'm like, oh, this is why I feel this way. Thank you for putting this out. Jiren sucks. Like, it's carrot. Like, if I was 10 years old, I would love this. But I'm not 10. I'm 33 years old, and I've been watching Dragon Ball media for 27 years. Like, 27 plus. You know, like, it was like this summer. It was like the summer of 1999 when I saw Dragon Ball Z for the first time. So it's like, bro, like, it's like summer or fall around that time that I saw it. So, you know, and it's like, bro, like, it kind of like, Super invalidates so much of what I know was established from Z every time I watch it. So that's the only reason why I have an issue with it. It's because it feels like GT felt like, with all the problems that GT had, GT felt like Z is over. It's done. Like, it's done. Accept it. That final send off at the end of GT bring tears to the eyes, man. Because you realize, like, wow, this really is it. That's and it's beautiful. It's a great way to send it. Even Mark, as a GT hater, he can understand that. Super feels like, yo, we need to keep making money, because that's what ended up happening. The movie did way better than the team anticipated. Everyone loved it, and they were just like, yo, we need more. So they made an anime continuing it. Like, I'm totally fine consuming the exact same story from Goku meeting Bulma all the way up until the send off at the end that I can't talk about if you haven't seen it, right? Like, of Dragon Ball Z, the Z send off. I'm totally cool doing that for the rest of my life. I can be 93 years old and I'm still getting hype for Goku's first Super Saiyan. I don't need any extra media, but like, they gotta make money. They gotta sell toys. They gotta sell me. It's like, bro, if you were a kid in the late 90s, 2000s, you were eating up every Dragon Ball game that was coming out, bro. You had Budokai come out in 2002. You had Budokai 2 next year. Budokai 3. You had Tenkaichi. You had Sagas, which some people played Sagas, I guess. Oh, yeah, Tenkaichi 2, Tenkaichi 3, the game that gave me carpal tunnel my freshman year of high school, and I didn't tell anybody that's why I got carpal tunnel, because I was embarrassed. But I got carpal tunnel for like 2 weeks because I was mashing Super Saiyan 2 Gohan combos. Like, a rarely with the birder with the full custom loadout. You know what I'm saying? Like, and every single time I play the game, I'm beating the story over and over and over and over again. So I'm consuming this story multiple times, every single time, through every game. And why is this the one franchise that a game comes out with the same exact stories in it, and we eat that sucker up like it's nothing? We eat it and we're happy. We want to go back to the first fight of Goku Vegeta. We want to go back to Namek. We want to go back to the androids. We want to see Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. We want to, you know what I'm saying? Why do we want to see that? Bro, I'm going to sit up here and preach for Dragon Ball Z. This clips of the week. This might as well be power levels of the week, because I'm talking about Dragon Ball Z, bro. This is I would not be a Jazz Edition without Dragon Ball Z and Dynasty Warriors. Talk about it. Like, it's just like, it's one of them things. We're like, why do we come back to it? It's so important. I do not feel that same way about Super. I'm not going to keep going back to watch Super. I don't want to. I don't need to. I've gone through the entirety of the Super story, like from beginning to where it now has ended. I've gone through that whole thing once. I've gone through the anime version of it twice. Like, I don't need it. Like, the characters are fun. They're just not believable for me. There's no emotional context for me. That's the only problem. So, like, the same level of struggle, the same world building, the same character changes, like the Vegeta's whole arc from start to end, from Piccolo's arc. Like, we don't, Gohan's transformation from, you don't get that in Super. You don't get that. You get, like, Super Saiyan becoming completely irrelevant to, like, now Ultra Instinct is the new Super Saiyan. But again, if you're like 14 or something, like, if you're a teenager and this is the first Dragon Ball media you become invested in, it makes sense that this would mean a lot to you, and that's fine. I respect that. But as a Dragon Boomer, DBZ, Dragon Boomer Z, it doesn't do anything for me. I've watched all Dragon Ball media and read all Dragon Ball media. The original Dragon Ball. Funny enough, the original Dragon Ball I've only watched all the way through twice. That's the only thing that I've only watched all the way through twice. But of course, like, I've been living with that media for a long time. I've watched the scenes multiple times, but I've only ran through the entirety of Dragon Ball twice. I've ran through Dragon Ball Z at least 11 times, 11 or 12 times probably. And I know that after this, pretty soon I'm gonna go on my 13th watch through. Like, pretty soon, it's definitely coming at the end of this year, most likely. I'm going through my third watch through of GT right now, actually, because that left the impact on me as well, because I really liked it. But I can't make a song like if you guys are wondering where Beacon of Hope comes from, I can't make a song like Beacon of Hope without Dragon Ball Z. That's why like that song is a tribute. That song is a tribute to like me, like everything I grew up with. Like thank you Toriyama, like thank you, thank you Kishimoto with Naruto, right? Like thank you Miura-san for Berserk. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I wrote it about. Cell Games is beautiful. It's awesome. Yeah, you got to get through Red Ribbon, man. But if you can get past Red Ribbon and you get to like the 22nd Budokai, bro, I love OGTN. I love OGTN with a passion. Love it. 22nd Tenkaichi Budokai, Demon King Piccolo, and then 23rd. Those are the reasons to make it through Dragon Ball. You get to those arcs, that's why you get you get through Red Ribbon. I mean, here's the thing though, Red Ribbon drags out, but like I feel like Red Ribbon is worse if you were reading the manga as it was coming out, if you were watching the anime as it was coming out. But honestly, it's not the worst. It's fun. I think Red Ribbon Army is fun. Red Ribbon Army feels it paces itself as if Lupin the Third was serialized as opposed to like being episodic. Like it feels like it's so Lupin coded. Like to me, it's so weird, right? Like the pacing and the energy of it. Because like the pacing of Lupin the Third works because it's only one episode. But like, yeah, I don't know. We derailed this all live. Listen, don't talk to me about Dragon Ball Z. I watch Dragon Ball media every single day. So, but anyway, let's watch. Jesse Van Roller talks about finding your own sound. Let's bring it back to stuff that people like actually understand. Oh, Lupin Part 4 and 5 are really, really, especially Part 5. That both of the Lupin is the one series that kept getting better as it aged. Very rare will like the consecutive series work well, but that's the best thing about Lupin is that the thematic nature of like the theme that Lupin is based off of lends it to being episodic, which also lends it to being infinitely permeable, like permutatable. There's an infinite amount of permutations you can make it with. And yeah, Lupin Part 5 is incredible. It's like a masterpiece. Lupin Part 4 is also really beautiful. I mean, there's like beautiful artwork in both of those because they're more modern, which is nice. But yeah, so good. So good. Guys, you talking about Yajirobe, right? Guys, look at my phone background is. Right. Let me clear all my notifications. Look at my phone background right now. Man, get out of here. Look at my phone back. This is my phone background. You kidding me? Dude, you can't, don't mention Yajirobe to me. Yajirobe, my dude, okay? Like that's my phone. That's my phone lock screen. If somebody tries to steal my phone, they might be like, they might see the ball knowledge so immense, they'll return my phone. Hopefully. Because that picture is ball knowledge. Real talk though, Yajirobe, when Goku meets Yajirobe in Dragon Ball, it's the best thing ever. Yajirobe was throwing down the beat down, bruh. Facts, Dan. Facts. Big facts. You have not spoken more facts with that. That Yajirobe scene, like Yajirobe coming in with the clutch like that, I'm like, come on, bro. Anyway, let's talk about how to find your own sound. I mean, I've talked about this, but let's see what his take is on this.
Hey guys, Samuel here. Thanks for checking out.
This is very low. Let's see if it's any things that I talk about is also echoed in here.
The channel and its contents. And,
sorry, it's very quiet.
If you feel like it, please do subscribe. Thanks so much. Enjoy the video. Bye.
You find your own, like, on occupied ground in the
Yeah,
landscape of jazz. Yeah, it's getting harder and harder because it's getting busy.
yeah.
But I think it's a lot. What I notice is for a lot of students, maybe I was like that too, but there's a lot of attention to like the watts, like the notes,
Mm,
pitches, and like finding their voice in that and not
yeah,
in the how, so in how you play things. And when you think of Matheny or Schofield or Scott Henderson, you know I'm thinking, when I think of Matheny, I'm thinking of how he plays and not what he plays.
yeah.
Like there's instance I can hear him, and it's like how it's a certain how you feel when you listen to him. There's like an image of him, if you think of his way of playing, that is transcends the what. It's You
Mm,
don't think of his typical, the typical things that he plays, even though there are typical
sure.
things, all of these guys, and but that doesn't define them. So in the search of your own voice, I think it should, like, a lot of the attention should go out to how you play things and sound and articulation, rather than the
Yeah,
what. And the
yeah,
what is so much easier because there are books about that.
yeah. You know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's easy to, like, yeah, if you know these skills, and it's very much, it's much more brainy.
yeah. Definitely.
I mean, there's nothing. Yeah, there's. It's not saying anything wrong, but it's. We all know this, right? Like, it's good. I'm glad he's saying the right things, but I think there should be more elaboration on this. Like the elaboration is that, like, guys, the core thing that I was hoping that he would talk about this, but I realize the reason why I talk about this is because a lot of people don't talk about this. Finding your own sound is a process of identifying what you like and also what you don't like, and learning to feel comfortable with both of those things being a part of who you are. That's what it is. Because if you're just practicing your scales and playing transcriptions or whatever, like, you're executing things. The only reason why you don't sound like yourself yet is because it's one of two things. Like, either A, you're not good enough to execute things that are in your head, which is usually the first thing you want to address. Or the second thing, you are good enough to start, like, inserting those things in there, but you're either too afraid to show what you're really, and I mean the deepest core of your interest. Like, it's not about I'm not talking about expressing what you like about Charlie Parker, right? I'm not talking about expressing what you like about Miles. I'm talking about expressing things that make you move, that make you feel things, like getting deep into those things and being real. And sometimes those things will not be what everybody else likes, but you have to be willing to be comfortable with expressing that and not being afraid to do it. That's where your own sound comes from. Your own sound, it doesn't just magically appear. It's already there. The point is that your own sound is already there, dude. Like, it's already there. Like, your own sound's already there. It's always there. It's whether or not you, A, have the ability to, and B, have the courage and audacity to express it. So just think about, that's the thing that I think should be, that's an addendum I would add to this. Because, of course, focusing on articulation and sound, all that kind of stuff you're talking about, like, that's only a part of it. Those are the technical aspects of it. But, I know a lot of the same stuff as other alto players do. Like, matter of fact, I consider myself, like, I try to be a chameleon. I've always tried to be that in my line of work because I get a lot of different work doing that way. But what makes me sound different from other people is not that I'm better than any of those people. What makes me sound different is that what makes me stand out from most players is that I'm usually the least afraid out of a group of people. If you just get random groups of people, I'm usually the least afraid to express what moves me deeply, combined with the ability to express what moves me deeply. But you have to have both. If you only have one of them, it's not going to work. It's not about, like, how do I sound like myself? It's how do I show other people my sound? How do I show other people what I sound like? So, but again, like, a lot of people watching me, like, you know, might not be at the level to do that yet, right? Which is fine, you know. But at the same time, if you are, and you know you are, because there's a lot of people even in the comments, I know y'all are good enough. I heard y'all play some of y'all names. Y'all are great players. You know, then at a certain point it becomes it's time to like stop being afraid. It's time to stop, you know, it's time to stop seeking approval and validation from everybody. It's time to stop like needing to fit in. Nathan Graybill claimed that you play blue boxes. I don't play blue boxes anymore, no. I don't play Vandoren blue boxes anymore. Everybody think if people who say they don't think when they play are misguided. That's a misconception. When people it's an incomplete statement. When you say, if somebody says like don't think when you play, it means don't think about the scales and hitting the right chords. That should be automatic. But you cannot be a top player if you don't think. You have to think like what's coming next, but not like what change is coming next. You have to think like what am I feeling? You know what I'm saying? Like where's the drummer at right now? Is he anticipating something? You know what I'm saying? Like they're anticipating this, like, okay, like let me focus on what the bass is doing. They're doing pedal point. Let me start playing something. Those are really quick thoughts. There is no, like, there's not a binary between thinking and feeling in the music. What people interpret as thinking versus feeling is, you caught me off guard, Blade. You said, I mean, we got to think to speak, right? Yeah, exactly. See, that's what I'm saying, man. That's what, bro, ain't nothing beat good old country proverbs, country knowledge. We got to think to talk, right? We improvising while we speak. We got to think about what we're saying. Bro, if we didn't think before we spoke, we'd be in all sorts of kind of wars. Every country. We'd be in all sorts of play. Ain't nobody would exist. Ain't what? Would you say a more defined identity comes from a wider vocabulary? No. That's a more educated identity, like an educated expression. It comes with confidence and knowing yourself and being okay with what you like and don't like and not being afraid to express that. You can do that. You can do that if you know 3 notes. You're either going to play 3 notes like somebody else or you're going to play 3 notes like yourself. The reason why we copy other people is to learn how they express themselves. The end goal of copying and transcribing other people is to get an example very fast and very quickly how the end result of someone else's process that we're on the journey of right now. So you get it as close as possible to try to then process, wow, what did it take for them to get to this? And then you keep playing and playing and playing for years and years and years. That's why every 2 or 3 years I've had a bird phase since I was 12, 13 years old. Now 20 years later at 33, I've gone back to process bird like 7 times over the course of these 20 years. Because I'm learning, the more I learn about myself in my life, the more I'm learning about what he did up until my age. I'm 1 year, 1.5 years away from the age that Bird was when he died. I am infinitely more likely to live past him in my journey. So many of us are. And so many of us would be so lucky if we can get to like 25% of like the actual end results that he got on his instrument. So we're in the process of learning what this was. We're in the process of learning ourselves and using other people as like examples of like what we can do. So we got to cut the whole, like, I don't want to sound like nobody. I want to sound whatever. I want to sound like nobody. Well, we got to copy. Why do we got to transcribe? It's because you don't know nothing. So, like, do it. Like, shut up and do it. Sup, user? Welcome. Just picked up a new clarinet. Yo, welcome to the, as Mark Dover said in my Cherokee Daily video, welcome to the misery stick. welcome. I hope you enjoy. I think okay, this is a very important video, but it's always nice to, you know what? I'm going to do something that I don't normally do, which is play a video I've already seen many times, but I haven't seen it in many years, and let's react to it. Like let's watch it again and see how relevant it is to like life right now. But this is a very important clip that I think if you haven't seen this clip yet, because you may be a little new, you should watch this clip. Sonny Rollins on jazz and drugs.
The life of a jazz musician is a difficult life because you want to play, you want to get to the inner spirit, and sometimes you drink or you use drugs or you smoke a lot, or you do all these things to try to get the spirit out. So a jazz musician, it's a difficult existence, and a lot of the great people that I've known and that in history, they kind of overindulge and they never sort of are able to balance their musical life with their personal life. Maybe it's not necessary to do that. That's another question. I don't know, but I'd like to see young musicians coming up that don't smoke and that don't drink to excess and don't use drugs and don't sort of debilitate themselves. I think that's where we should go. I think that's what guys should be doing. I don't think you have to drink and use drugs to play good jazz, but that's been the model for so long that a lot of guys get caught up in that, you know.
What a complicated topic. What a very, very complicated thing to talk about. It shouldn't be, right? It shouldn't be a complicated thing to talk about. It should be a very straightforward topic. Just don't do drugs. Just don't drink. But that's not the point. Let's go back to a very specific thing that Sonny Rollins said in this clip. Let's go back to a very specific thing that he said. And let's see if we can catch it when it happens. And I'll stop it when it happens.
The life of a jazz musician is a difficult life because you want to play, you want to get to the inner spirit, and sometimes you drink or you use drugs or you smoke a lot, or you do all these things to try to get the spirit out.
This is why it's complicated to talk about. You cannot understand the history of jazz, history of America's classical music, as some people like to call it, without, you can't understand the history of any of America's pop music throughout the 20th century without understanding the history of the selective substances of choice that people indulged in tandem with the creation of the music. And this, just to warn parents who might be watching this with their kids right now, I think this is a very necessary conversation to have. So if you don't want your kids watching this, it's okay to like maybe, I think you should let them. I think you should. You shouldn't let your 8-year-olds watch this, but if you're watching this with your teens or something, this is a very important conversation to have, right? But if you don't, I'm just giving you fair warning right now that the subject matter I'm about to get into is probably not like very like family friendly, because it's important to talk about. And you might disagree with me, which is fine. Like that it's not important, but I'm talking about it because I'm going to all at once talk about the history of the music and also my experience with the music. And some people might not like that. So if that's something that you don't want to hear, if you don't want to hear any kind of information, talk about drugs and substance use and stuff like that, then I guess I'll be done talking about this in maybe 10 minutes, and then you can come back. It depends on the type of questions that people ask me. But this is very serious, especially because if we're talking, I want to honor the late great Sonny Rollins right now, who just left us recently. I want to do him justice by talking about this as well. So I'll give you like 5 seconds to switch off before I start talking about this. Yo, Taga, what's up, bro? 確かに日本に朝9時だね。おもろ。でも英語わかんない。英語わかんないなら大丈夫だね。大丈夫じゃないAll right, so let me talk about what I meant by that. So, for the longest time, right, like in history, right, like in especially in our education, well, not even just education, but like in pop culture, we associate musicians with drugs. Let's just talk about it. That's just true. That is the truth of the stereotype. People associate musicians with drugs. It's been in pop culture forever. I'm not even just talking about MTV in the 80s. I'm talking about forever, right? You can go back to every decade. There's some type of substance that's associated with music in history. And it might surprise you if we keep going back in time about what's actually associated. And we normally think that jazz is safe. Not bebop. We normally think that bebop is safe. Right? Like we like to think that pre-bebop is safe. We think that bebop, oh yeah, Charlie Parker, heroin, terrible, and then we know that that's like the most common association is that they think of jazz and drugs, they think of like heroin and bebop. They never think that it ever happened before that. But let's go back in history. For those who weren't around in the 90s, the popular like drug of choice was MDMA, right? Molly, ecstasy. That was the music is associated with that because it's associated with clubs, associated with being social, removing these social inhibitions to dance to this crazy music that makes you feel and see things in that way. What was the 80s? We know that was crack, cocaine, or cocaine. Let me say it differently. Cocaine and crack, because it was both of them. You know what I'm saying? Right? But we know that was a time everything was just exciting, fast-paced, crazy. Jazz even represented that. I mean, we always have the joke about the Woody Shaw, like the super treble bass and like super fast, but pop music was like that too. Heavy metal and rock and roll was like that. Rock and roll and cocaine. We think about that. The 70s we associate with LSD and like acid tripping and stuff like that, right? Like we also associate the 70s with cocaine too, but for the most part, yeah, it's like LSD. Like late 60s to 70s was mostly like LSD. As we know, a lot of the 50s, like 40s and 50s, was associated with heroin. What was happening before that? What was happening before in the 30s and the 20s? Guys, this is the time period that marijuana was made illegal. Isn't that interesting? This is the time period. Bro, guys, Louis Armstrong was like the biggest stoner of all time. Louis Armstrong was always high as hell. I know it's like a revelation that a lot of people don't like. They're just like, not my Louis Armstrong. Yeah. The good old smiley Wonder Boy who's just performing all sorts of stuff and making the world smile and be a happy, what a wonderful world. Louis Armstrong, the joy, the pride and joy of all parents. Yeah, he was like, he was rolling up a fat one and just lighting it up. Like, that was Louis Armstrong, man. Like, Bix Beiderbecke, he died at 29 because he was from an alcohol poisoning. Like, prohibition happened because they thought this is so bad we need to ban alcohol. Of course that didn't work, but that was the drug of choice. Like party music, like the music. The reason why people talk about this is because, and the reason why Sonny himself feels like he has to talk about this is because the history of the music is connected with the substances. The reason why I want to play for those who forgot. Listen to what he just said.
Spirit, and sometimes you drink or you use drugs or you smoke a lot, or you do all these things to try to get the spirit out.
You try to do all these things. You smoke, you drink, you do whatever. Got to get the spirit out. Why is that a thing? That's because, unlike today, where we're living on like the backs of all the sacrifices and all the, not just the sacrifices, but all of the substances, all of the stuff that people did that influenced the way we think about stuff now without the drugs, right? Not just that. That's a big difference, right? But society was completely different back in the day. Society, as we know, like American society, was super conservative. I don't mean conservative as in like politically. I mean, yeah, there was a lot of that too, but I mean just conservative in the culture. I mean, dude, the beginning of the 20th century is coming out of a rebellion from the Victorian era. Like, you want it to be as regal and royal and prim and proper and pristine as possible. So when Ragtime came out, oh, let's talk about it. Ragtime came out. Bro, I want to see if I can find this quote. Is Ken Burns' episode, it's like a Ken Burns episode, like Ken Burns Jazz episode 1. I wonder if it's on here. No way. It's been uploaded? Incredible. Okay. Let's see if I can find this quote because it's really funny. Maybe we can actually do our watch through on our live watch through of Ken Burns Jazz on here.
The blues.
No. Yeah, okay, I need to find this. I think it's somewhere in here. Okay, yeah. Listen to this quote. Listen to this quote about Ragtime. I love this anecdote. I love this so much because this is whenever people talk about how they don't get, right? Like they don't like get old music or like they only listen to like 40s, 50s and later, but like they're not really into trad. When you realize how gangster this stuff was, like how I don't know what words people use today, right? Like when you realize how badass this was, this quote should sum up the contextual difference between people who went in they were only listening to march music and classical music and that's all they knew, and then this happened.
Suddenly, I discovered that my legs were in a condition of great excitement. They twitched as though charged with electricity and betrayed a considerable and rather dangerous desire to jerk me from my seat. Gustav Kuhl.
It's Gustav Kuhl was the name. But like, if you didn't catch that, right, it's like, he's basically like, yo, like, suddenly my body's moving on its own. What's happening? Like, so like they heard, man, it's like 1895, and they like, bro, what's this beat? Like, bro, like there's this beat, like, you know, like everybody's playing gang, be in line, don't be out of, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is the pinnacle. If you want to be a good man, you got to be upstanding and put your chest out and walk forward and march, you know what I'm saying? This is like the way you live in society, right? Like, bruh, Scott Joplin say, I'm like, yo, bro, it's like, oh shit. Oh snap. You know, it's like, of course it's gonna be crazy. So the music represented a kind of a new change in the American consciousness and the young people to be like, why do we have to, you know what? I'm faced with two things. You know what? Like the overarching societal pressures that Japan still feels to this day that got broken down in American society. We're like, wait a minute. We don't got to do this. No, let's look at this over here. This is crazy. Look at them. Look at this. I want to do this instead. Why do I have to be locked up in this? And they going out and sneaking out and like partying to you know what I'm saying? And their parents hate it. They're like, man, it's making our kids dance and be hooligans and like wear short dresses up to their knees. Like, oh no, hey, Babaco, is Babaco in the chat? Remember them knees. He said, remember Louis Armstrong said, a little Harden said about Louis Armstrong, he said, oh, you caught a glimpse of them knees. Oh, he said he saw them knees. Like, oh, excuse me. Oh. Yeah, Burnell. That's the 1920s version of ooh. When them knees came up, it's like, whoa, hold up there, whoa. Dang, miss, you doing something later? You want to talk? Like, this is the state of America, right? Like, this is the state of America at the time, and people don't. That context is lost because we don't study the history. But the reason why I'm talking about this and bringing this back is specifically because, again, like we're talking about the place that drugs have and the evolution of the substances in and through the evolution of the music. We have to talk about what made people even turn to using in the first place. We have to talk about what inspired people to want to break free from the mold, what wanted people to see more. Because doing the call for balance, the call to even need balance in the first place, is only something that's a necessity when you have decided that we're going to move from a culturally overarching, right, like an overarching cultural collective society and moving it into an individual society, right? As soon as the onus of control over the self moves from the community and into the individual, then you start having these types of questions pop up. You start having these types of topics pop up, because when the society is when the entire society, when you if your entire moral compass is being decided by your society, then every single thing that you do wrong, the onus is on the society for you being wrong, right? Like the onus is on the society for things that are happening, right? It's like, you know, you're supposed to fall in line, right? Like it's going to be your fault for not falling in line with society. It's going to be society's fault for failing you, like all this type of stuff. But when you move to an individual based society, nothing really matters. Like it's all up to you now. Whether you're good or bad is all on you. And I think that's like a really important distinction to make, because now you're off on your own, right? You're off to find, you know, you don't have to just be, you don't have to do arranged marriages. You don't have to like, you know, be in, you don't have to stay in one community for the rest of your life. You can pack up your bags and move to the city and move to New York. You can move, you know what I'm saying? Like there's so many things you can do on your own and find yourself. And that creates a different type of, it's rough. It creates things that were never really happening before. Like a new culture is created. And I think it's important to understand like the role that like these substances did, because what these substances did was it did two things at once for these musicians and for these people, the musicians and the audiences, right? Like all at once, it of course took you outside of the oppression that you felt from your everyday life, right? From the society, from work, from whatever, but also it gave you a deeper sense of like inspiration to play things that you otherwise would not get the inspiration to play. Like you wouldn't see them, you wouldn't feel them, you wouldn't, and even if they're there, you wouldn't have the impetus to even go into them because you're being held back by your mind. And what these substances did for these musicians is it allowed them to, in their mind, it allowed them an out away from having to do the hard work themselves, because they didn't know that they had to do any hard work. There wasn't like, you know, like at least at the time that we're talking about back in the day, there was no like Freudian psychology. There was no like, you know, and even if there was stuff like this, by the time like people, not everybody had access to this information or thought it was necessary to have it. You know, like therapy was still, and as therapy was coming out too, right? Like as the idea of talk therapy, it was still largely a female dominated space, right? Like up until recently in the past few decades, like it was not thought of that men should even go to therapy. You know, there's like a lot of stuff going on with this, right? There's a lot of factors in play. And for a lot of musicians, substances was their therapy. But not only was it their therapy, it's not like going from negative to zero. It also allowed them to go from zero to another place that they didn't think they can get otherwise. Now we know that you can. I've never done freaking heroin. I've never done crack. I've never done any of that kind of stuff. But because I was allowed to use my imagination growing up, this is key, because I was allowed to use my imagination and I wasn't shut down as a kid. I was able to imagine like myself in the role of these guys, like to be super open. If you're not a super open person, you're probably not going to get to that stuff. You're probably going to, it's easy to reject it. But that's the only, but I'm still never going to get to exactly what they were getting to, but I can at least imagine it. Right. And that's what's really important. But I have drank, right? I actually quit drinking back last year. I have smoked weed. Like I've done those things. Coffee is a drug, by the way, in case you didn't know, right? Like, you know, it's an acceptable drug because culturally it's acceptable, but that's also a drug that people also use and utilize, but we don't talk about it that way, even though we should. There's all these things that we take into ourselves to like shut our brains up, to like think about something different, go to another place. So much of John Coltrane's music would not exist without what he took, right? You said nicotine is absolutely, yeah. Like so much of that, that's the thing. And so I think it's really, but that's not like it's not a hallucinogenic or a psychedelic or like a, you know, it's not that. So, but yes, that absolutely does contribute to the culture as well. But I'm mostly talking about like hard substances, including things like alcohol, because I think it's really important to talk about. I think it's really important to talk about the influence that alcohol has had on music and why, even though it's literally a poison that, like, if you really care about your health, you should not be drinking. It's still a part of the culture that's important. And the part of the culture that it represents is a removal of inhibitions to move your body, a removal of inhibitions to do things like think about what alcohol does, guys. What does alcohol do to people? For most people, alcohol allows you to do things that you otherwise would not do. And what I mean by that is like things that like you would have a second thought about, you stop having second thoughts about, right? So like if you said it numbs the pain. Yeah, sure, it can do that, but it's less about, I'm not talking about like negative to zero, right? Alcohol numbing the pain is going from negative to zero. I'm talking about going from zero to like more. People that don't really have a lot of pain, right? People like Bix Beiderbecke that grew up in like a pretty stable home environment in a great house that I think is up for sale, I think recently, which is cool, in Davenport, Iowa, really did not have to do any of the things he did, but he got inspired to find more. He got inspired. You know what I'm saying? He's like, whoa, what's that over there? So he wasn't a person that had to go from negative to zero. He wanted to go from zero to more. He saw that there was something that was like missing in his life, and he wanted to like find out more what that was. And he noticed that one life that he was living was boring, and the other life over here was not. You know what I'm saying? So like, you didn't want to be boring. You wanted to have some fun. You know, like you meant more medically speaking. But yeah, sure, of course. That's why they like, you know, they used to put whiskey in the gums, you know, for old dental services, you know, for kids and stuff. Yeah, like they used to do that. But like the point is, I talked about that earlier, Octo. I talked about that earlier. Like people, you said, but let's talk about that for a second in tandem with this, right? Like people drinking in order to not be burdened by social rules. Is why is drinking to like not be burdened by social rules or expectations important for the discussion about jazz? Like why is it important for this discussion about like party life? It's because, like I said, alcohol will give you the courage to do things that you otherwise would not do. For example, like social rules and expectations, like, you know, like going up and hitting on girls in inappropriate contexts or situations that might get you messed up. It makes you gamble, right? Quite literally gamble. You know, it'll make you like impulsively buy something that you otherwise know you probably shouldn't buy if you were sober and you do it anyway. You'll go in and you know you should stay home, but it makes you might pregame, go to a party, and now suddenly you're like, I know I got this thing, but now I'm feeling good to go out. When you play jazz, it also makes you take risks in the music that you otherwise would not do. So I want to be very careful. I want to be very careful when I'm saying this. Remember, I'm not saying to drink. That's not what I'm saying at all. Don't do that. Like, if you care about your health, don't do that. That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it's important to understand that if you don't drink, right, and if you've never drank, it's a combination of things. If you've never drank before and you're just completely against all of it, right, like, and you're against the things that it does and you just don't know the history behind it, you're locking yourself out. Like, the second part is really important, like kind of rejecting everything that is done in the history. You're missing out an extremely important part of what made this music a thing. You don't need to drink to get to that, but you need to be in situations and around, or at least like be around people who do. I know it sucks to say, I know it sounds like this can be taken the wrong way. But like, you need to at least be in a safe position where someone can guide you through. Like, if you go to a party, which everyone should go to a party, you don't have to drink. Be with someone who understands that you don't drink, right? Be with someone who understands that you don't drink, but still wants you to have fun. Get a seltzer or something. Get a Coke. Hang out in the social situations of people that do drink and see what they're doing. See what is different about like people at your school or something. And like this dude out here that's just like having a ball. He has like 3 drinks and suddenly he's playing stuff he never played before. Why? Why did it take that? Why? You don't have to drink, but look at the person that's doing that. What can you learn from that? What you learn from it is this music was built from people doing things, no matter what it took, to remove their societal inhibitions and lock and safeguards of taking risks. If you don't understand what I'm saying, you're probably too young. And that's okay. As I said before, people should not, or maybe you don't speak English that well. That's fine. I don't want to assume. But if you are around people who are partying and you see them like a little too drunk, right? Make sure you have like somebody there that you can trust that can like keep you safe, right? That, you know, like just make sure someone's there that can keep you safe. But observe and try to have fun with them. Try to have fun with someone who's partying and having fun. Try to do that. You don't have to drink, but do you understand why I'm talking about this and why Sonny Rollins talked about what he talked about? Clifford Brown didn't just sit in his house and practice all day. He was out in the clubs. He just didn't drink. Clifford Brown played gigs. Everybody loves to talk about how Clifford Brown and Eric Dolphy like didn't do drugs and stuff. That doesn't mean they weren't out there looking at people like they weren't like what young people are doing today. Saying that they're quote unquote socially anxious and scrolling TikTok at home all day instead of going out and having social interactions. They couldn't do that back then. So you don't have to drink, but you must be in a context where people are removing inhibitions so that you can also learn how to remove your own inhibitions. And it's going to be a lot harder if you don't consume, but it's still going to be very possible because that's what I did. Before I had a dropout alcohol in my system ever. Before I had I didn't touch any type of weed until I was 25 years old. Right? So it's like, you got to realize that like it's all possible. But by 25, I was already a respected jazz musician. So how did I get to that point that's because I went out and had fun anyway. I went out and partied. I didn't have a drink, but I went out and partied. Because I understood that like, yeah, there's something like, yeah, like I want to go out and have, like, there's a value, something to be valued about this. I want to go out and have fun. Like, go out and do it, but y'all too stiff. And there's a lot of people that are like you guys, which is fine, or like a lot of modern people who just watch YouTube or shorts all day, that there are people, you're not the first people in history to be inhibited. Most people back in like the 1800s had this society, they were in the society like what's on this video right here. If they're in this video right here, right? This picture, most people in society like this had to live by extremely strict rules because these were you guys' grandparents or grandparents. And how many of y'all have great grandparents that are just like, oh man, I don't get kids these days. They're doing blah, 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 blah. Oh man, kids these days. And then you got to be like, Grandma, I know you was dropping draws for Jelly Roll Morton. You know, Granny was busting down for Duke Ellington. And she want to tell you that y'all mess with it. My point is that the society was so different. Society was so different, right? But you know that's what was going on. But like it just keeps getting crazier and crazier and crazier as time goes on. Now you got almost full nudity on Instagram these days, right? So there's nothing left to the imagination. You can access adult content for free no matter how old you are. But back then they couldn't do that. Society was really, really, really locked and tight. So it was imperative for them to find some type of freedom through substance. That was the only way that they felt that they could do that. That's why alcohol was such a big deal and why it was so bad and why people felt like it had to be banned. You got to understand this stuff, guys. So the question then comes down to the reason why this is such an important conversation is because Sonny Rollins in that video, if I go back to it,
the life of a
he talks about in this video balance. What does he mean by balance? Does he mean drink sometimes? I don't think that's what he means. Maybe there's some underlying in there, like if you can moderate, but I don't think you have to drink at all. I just think that like there's an easy way, right? In life, there is the easy way, and the easier something is, the greater the consequences are. Or there is a clean and safe way, but extremely difficult, but rewarding. You have to pick one in life. And what we like to do, what we like always hope to do as educators, parents, and mentors, role models, is to reduce the amount of this and increase the amount of this in our young people to hopefully make the society better. And if you want a refresher on what these things, the this and the this is that I'm talking about, especially for our podcast viewers, or people who are listening and not watching, I'm talking about on my left hand, which is right on the screen. On my left hand, I'm saying there is an easy way with like an endless amount of caveats, and there is a difficult way that is safer and clean. So let's talk about what those things are. Let's talk about what is so difficult, or like what is easy and what are the hardships. So let's talk about the easier one to talk about, which is, of course, the easy. So Sonny Rollins talks about in this video, the spirit. What is the spirit? What is that thing he's talking about? He's talking about the thing I talked about when I mentioned alcohol, about what it does to people and how it like removes inhibitions, right? Like alcohol allows you, like for most people, to do things that they otherwise would not want to do, right? And how that relates to jazz, it's like if you would otherwise be afraid of hitting a high note because you know you didn't practice it, if you take a drink, you might suddenly not be afraid of hitting a high note, and then you'll go for it and you'll hit it, or you won't, and it'll crack and it'll be so soulful, and then you'll end up on like every single college saxophone player's like list, like Charlie Parker in 1947 with Loverman, where he was like so blasted out of his mind they had to hold him up in the recording studio, and then he played, and he got, once he was sober, he hated that recording, but after he wanted it burned forever. But every saxophone player was like, this is the greatest thing ever. This is like Bird's greatest recording. But like he was like blasted out of his mind. He wasn't even like conscious barely, and he was playing. So it's like Charlie Parker destroyed himself by the age of 34. But his substance use, even you can make an argument, did he need to do that or not? I don't know. That's not the point. The point is that regardless if he needed to or not, what it did do is the things that he did allow him to shut his brain off and just go. Clifford Brown proved that you don't. The reason why he's so important in history is because he proved that you don't have to do substances in order to just go, right? Clifford Brown proved that. But we talked about the easy and the caveat, right? Like we talked about like that's the easy thing, but the caveat is that you will destroy yourself. So what about the Clifford Brown way? What about the Eric Dolphy way, right? Like what about these guys, like Charles Lloyd, what about these guys who are clean and like just in there, right? What does that take? What's so difficult about that? Well, what's difficult is that you have to remove your own inhibitions. Guys, the easy way out, where you don't learn any lessons and you're constantly relying on, the reason why you always need a fix is not just because of withdrawal, but because like, let's say you don't really get withdrawal. Let's say you're on a step. Let's say you're fine. It's only been, let's say you need to have heroin every 4 hours or something, but like it's only been 2. So you're not in withdrawal, but you still want to get it anyway because you are relying on something else to remove your inhibitions. You're relying on something else to get that for you. And when it's gone, you have nothing. You realize that you haven't done any of the work. But people like Clifford Brown, the way they were able to get to a place of feeling free is because they removed their own inhibitions without the stuff. They did the work. They did the personal work of like, I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to be inspired to just go. But for people who are afraid to go, like you have insecurity issues or anxiety issues, drugs fix that for those people. Because they're unable to do that work themselves because sometimes they don't believe that they can. Sometimes they don't believe, like how many of y'all, there's probably people in the chat that have things like ADHD, maybe autism, maybe whatever. And you feel like I'm just like this, nothing can change. And you're just like, you might not even be properly diagnosed, but something about you feels different. And you feel like I'm just like this forever. And like nothing, I'm just not going to change. That means you've given up. You are the person that is the most likely to do drugs if that's the case. If you're the type of person that's like, this is just me, nothing's gonna work, you are most likely to drink, you're most likely to do drugs, you're most likely to self-harm, you're most likely to do all that stuff. Why? Because you're telling yourself that like all of this stuff is not my responsibility. It's not my responsibility to change myself. The world or God or whatever made me this way, and it's not my fault, so I'm not gonna deal with it. That's not what like people like Clifford Brown said. You know, like that's not what my friends who are also neurodivergent said. You know, like life is the things you deal with in life are not a prescription. The things you deal with in life are just a starting level. You're just like like if you play video games, you spawn in one place. It's just, you know, like everybody is born in different circumstances. Some people got an easier hit. Some people are born, you know, with 1 million coin, you know, starting in all the stats, you know, put up in their character. And some people are born with no stats, you know, like no coin or whatever. But they're both in the same game and they both can finish the game. It's just going to take one person a harder time and a longer time to finish the game. That doesn't mean you still can't play it. This game is available to everyone. This game is available to everybody. And you don't need drugs or substances to get to that. It's just harder. But you know what people like Clifford Brown had over all the other myriad of jazz musicians that were not Charlie Parker? Because, you know, drinking doesn't make you Charlie Parker. Heroin doesn't make you Charlie Parker. He was Charlie Parker without the drugs. It's just that the drugs made him feel more free. But other people did drugs and heroin and drink and stuff, and they weren't Charlie Parker. So what's the difference between Clifford Brown and them? Clifford Brown, he worked hard. He didn't let his circumstances hold him back. Everybody in history who worked hard. Everybody in history who like made it out. You know what I'm saying? Like hard work doesn't mean you practice. I watched a very good like this. There's a review, and like I don't want to spoil Dragon Ball Z for people who didn't watch it, but this is one of the reasons why I think Dragon Ball Z is such an important story for people to watch or read. So if you don't like Dragon Ball Z spoilers, come back after 30 seconds or or 1 minute. Skip to like a minute or two after this because I'm going to talk about Vegeta for a second and why it's important. I'll give you 3 seconds. I'll count down. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so there is a point in Dragon Ball Z where Vegeta finally attains Super Saiyan. However, there's a point where Vegeta does attain Super Saiyan status, right? Like because the biggest like story dynamic, like character dynamic in Dragon Ball Z that was a thread all the way up until the final arc was the relationship between Goku and Vegeta, and how Vegeta is this like Saiyan prince who like was born with natural talent and like never really had to work hard for anything in his life. But Goku was not a natural talent. He was a low-class warrior, he didn't know he was a low-class Saiyan, but like he had to work hard and study with like 10 different teachers to get to where he is, and still had to work hard and still depends on his friends or whatever. And Vegeta, confident that what you're born with is all that matters, like cannot comprehend how Goku is like getting so much stronger than him. He couldn't contend with the fact that like, why is Goku getting so much stronger than me? Like he's a low-class warrior. He can't be this strong. So Vegeta spends like the next like 100 episodes basically chasing after Goku, saying, I'm going to be the next Super Saiyan. And then he finally reaches it, but then he's beat by like a teenage girl android, right? And he's like disgraced. Like he's like disgraced. And the thing that Mark points out that I love so much, because he has this moment where he's doing that, and then at one point he goes into the hyperbolic time chamber and he is the strongest person. He does become the strongest person for a time before Goku goes into trains. He is the strongest person in the universe. He's beating second form Cell, destroying, dominating. But he loses because he thinks, again, this is just where I'm at, right? Like he finally decides to train. But here's the thing. The thing that blew my mind that I never thought about, and this, hopefully even you guys that don't watch Dragon Ball Z, hopefully you can learn from this. This is why I think you guys should watch this show. The lesson you can learn from this that Totally Not Mark pointed out in his video that I love so much is that the reason why Vegeta failed The reason why Vegeta failed is because he reached Super Saiyan. He worked hard and reached Super Saiyan, working hard in the way he knew how to work hard. Not in a general sense, in a way he knew how to work hard. So when it came time to defeating enemies that required the help of his friends, for example, Trunks, Piccolo, Tien, they were all there. And one of the androids say, hey, if y'all step in, like we, if y'all step in, I'm gonna step in now, and y'all gotta come back. Vegeta's like, don't worry, they're not gonna step in. This fight is mine. I'm gonna beat this. So instead of relying on his friends, where he could have probably actually had a chance, he instead decides, I'm gonna do this myself, because again, that's how he knows how to do it. But here is a situation where, in two instances, that one android and then Second Form Cell, if he would have relied on his friends, right? If he did the hard work to push past his pride, and he would have realized that this is a battle that requires a different set of skills than what he knows and what he has. If he would have realized that, he would have won. But he didn't, and he became second to Goku once again, perpetually. Because his idea of working hard is brute strength, power, training. That's how I do it, by myself. But when a situation calls for another way of working hard, that's not him. Okay, why does this relate to jazz? It's because a lot of people, especially nowadays, especially young folks, but this is also related to drugs and to drinking. Working hard does not mean practicing, right? A lot of people that do drugs practice. But for example, to give like a really easy analogy, just say you want to be good at improvising, but all you do is shed licks all day and shed scales. That's your way. You brute force. You can play scales in all 1,500 keys, and you can go all over the ball, everything, whatever, but you still can't play. That's because you're not shedding the things that are uncomfortable to you. You're going hard as possible in things that are comfortable to you. Does that make sense now, you guys? It's like if I want to play, if I want to really get, if somebody really likes Beacon of Hope, right? And they want to go, and they're like something like, I just play like one note for like 6 bars, right? Instead of playing any licks. But all you play is like, if that's all, and you're going to just go faster and faster and faster. I'm going to be good at improvising. And you just keep practicing faster. You're never going to get good at improvising, but you're not going to get good at playing a ballad by shredding notes at 500. You're never going to get good. And then you can do it the other way. You're never going to get good at playing at 500 if all you're doing is playing ballads. I had a friend, I'm not going to name who they were or gender or whatever, but I had a friend when I was in high school say to me on trumpet that the reason they love Miles Davis, and the reason why their whole thing was like, yeah, Miles is my thing, like I like Miles, and it's because like, yeah, they don't, they play just enough, they don't play too much, whatever. And it made me realize that like, yeah, this person is really into Miles because it gives them a cognitive bias, like an excuse that like, oh, I don't have to do this other stuff, because like it's not that it doesn't inspire them, they just don't want to, they don't want to work on it. They're intimidated by the fast stuff. But like, they had absolutely all the tools to just practice and get to that level of proficiency if they just decide to do it. But a lot of people end up hiding in like, a lot of people end up hiding in their comfort zone because it's hard. It hurts to like challenge yourself. It's very difficult work. The difficult work is not practicing for 5 hours a day. I know people that practice 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day, and they still can't cut some people in high school right now. Like, why? It's because they're working on the stuff. Like, they might be able to play technically, but they can't move an audience. You know what I'm saying? Or like vice versa, same thing. Like they lean into playing the blues or lean into playing a ballad because, they're hiding from their insecurities about not being able to play fast. So Vegeta lost everything because he only practiced the way that was good for him. People turn to drugs because there's a fundamental truth they have learned and accepted about themselves that they believe. It's not a truth. It's something they've convinced themselves of. And so because they've already relegated themselves to believing nothing's going to change, this is just how it is, they feel trapped. And the only way they can get out is not from what they do, but it's about what the world does. So that's where the substances come in. You guys understand what I'm talking about? Is this still too far-fetched of an analogy? You understand what I'm saying? Drugs don't make you a better player. They just remove the hard work that you have to do otherwise. So you have to be careful. This is the reason why people say stay away. They might not be able to so like prophetically or eloquently or like say it in an educated way, right? But the idea of getting the spirit out, right? Like the idea of like going to your limits, like you have to have the imagination and the courage for it. That's why in this music, I tell people that the way you be the best, right? The way what separates people from being just whatever, right? From being just like a normal musician or like a good musician, like a decent musician by all observable metrics, and being like the most killing, right? It's like three things. It's always these three things. It's like imagination, courage, and audacity. I said that in the previous stream, and that's write those things down because that's what's going to be, that is how you get to the next level. But think about what I just said. It's a lot of hard personal work to have those things, right? If they're not fostered from a young age, like as a kid, it's very difficult. So what can give you these three things with like no work? Starts with a D, ends with an S. Drugs. What drug can't give you a vivid imagination and see colors and all this kind of crazy stuff and hallucinate, right? They call drugs, they call alcohol liquid courage. They call it liquid courage for a reason. Audacity? Of course that's what like cocaine and alcohol, all this type of stuff is going to do. Of course that's what that stuff is going to do. Like it's going to give you the audacity to dare. You're going to dare yourself, right? You're going to have all the confidence in the world to do that. You know what I'm saying? So to do that on your own takes work, and it's work that is necessary. Because the difference, if you want any type of PSA to stay clean in your life, is this. A high lasts like 10 minutes, hour, whatever. A high is temporary. But the hard work is endless. It's infinity. Hard work is infinite. Hard work doesn't, the high of hard work, right? The high of hard work, what I'm getting right here, the high of hard work does not leave. It doesn't, you don't come down from it. You learn those lessons that stay with you forever. I'm learning that too as I go along in my 30s. A high is temporary, but hard work is forever. That should be all you need to feel and think about and to know about like to make your decisions about what you do in your life. It doesn't mean that if you like find, obviously you're going to find yourself in some situations where you might, if you're of age and there's something that is legal for you to do of age with people that you're safe with, obviously like having a drink just to see what it's like, having a smoke just to see what it's like. There's nothing wrong with that. We're human. There's nothing wrong with that. But the point is that you need to understand yourself and why you're doing these things. Because usually it comes from a starting place. It comes from a starting place. And the starting place that it comes from is, why am I doing this? What is making me want to reach for this thing? When I'm having a hard time, what makes me want to reach for the bottle instead of like pick up the phone and call a friend? What is making me want to pick up the bottle or pick up the needle, whatever, instead of like going on looking up some self-help videos on YouTube or like calling some, whatever, like going out, leaving my house and going somewhere to distract myself? What is stopping me from doing that? And usually it comes from a fundamental belief about yourself that you are unwilling to change. That's what it comes down to. It comes down to you thinking, I am just born this way, or this is just me, and whatever. I'm not going to think, I don't care about nothing. I don't want to work hard. I just want to feel better. Which is valid. Everybody wants to feel better. I get it. Like, we all have weak moments. It doesn't mean that if you end up slipping up and doing something once or even twice that you're wrong or that you're bad because like that can lead, the shame can also lead to you going down an addiction path. The point is to get out of your head so much, get into the real world. Because if you end up like slipping up and doing it one time and then you shame yourself, you're going to, believe it or not, that shame of the fact that you did it is not going to make you stop doing it again. It's going to make you do it more because now you're going to start doing it in private, almost like you're hiding from yourself and there's no one to hide from. Be careful. Mental health is extremely important, guys. What we're learning now, the thing that I love, like people are asking like, why are young people not drinking and smoking as much as used to? It's because mental health content is, even though there's so many problems with it, like there's a lot of problems with how we think about mental health content, but at least it's a trendy topic. Mental health topics are popular and trending on TikTok and YouTube. Like thinking about yourself, right? Like learning, like talking about your feelings is like the best drug of all because like you can avoid having to go to that place when you have a safe space to talk about stuff. So that's one of the reasons why, in a good way, rightfully so, young people are not doing substances as much. Still are, just different types of stuff, of course, but not as much, right? Like I don't see a lot of people younger than me in bars, right? Unless you're like in the countryside or something, or like another country. But, which is a good thing. The caveat, guys, the reason why I'm saying this is that as much of a good thing as it is to stay away from drugs and stuff, the problem with avoiding the topic entirely is that you're missing the point of why people did them in the first place, because it can teach you about why you are avoiding social situations. It'll teach you about why you are avoiding taking risks, why you are avoiding doing things that you otherwise would not do. That's the balance that I believe that Maestro, Mr. Rollins, is talking about. And I'm not putting words in his mouth, because like great, but in order to do honor and justice to his life and his issues that he had growing up with like substance abuse and stuff like that, not growing up, but like, I guess certainly like the teenager 20s, whatever, like everybody else is doing. And, like to give justice to this, my interpretation of this sentiment and everybody's sentiment when they talk about this from this time period is you have to unlock that spirit within yourself. I made Beacon of Hope because of that. Not because of the drug context, but because of the finding the spirit within yourself part. That's why I made the song. Because I have been able to find that spirit. And I want everybody else to reach deep inside to find that spirit. So that's extremely important. And I want everyone to hopefully take that message to heart. So this turned into longer than I thought. But I hope that the message was gotten across. Because I think it's really important. And I've never heard a nuanced conversation about jazz and drugs before. I either hear public conversations about, don't even think about it, don't do it, which makes people want to do it even more. Or in private, there's like a bunch of creepos that are trying to like, because of the way we talk about it, or the way we don't talk about it, you got creepos talking about how good it is and like how, what I'm saying? Like there's no nuance. There's no nuance on this. And we need to have more nuanced conversations about this because it's only going to put us in power more anyway. And it's going to take away power from people who want us to be all doped up. So find that inner spirit. It's there. It just takes a lot of hard work. And the hard work is not practicing. The hard work is acknowledging and saying out loud, I don't like social gatherings. I don't like hanging out. I don't like going to parties. Saying all that out loud and then doing the exact opposite of what you don't like. That's the hard work. Going out and do it. Finding ways to go out to parties. Finding ways to be social. Finding ways to talk to people and hang out. Finding, what I'm saying? That is the hard work. Guys, what's harder? Doing a bench press, like doing like, I don't know, like a 300 bench press, half reps like this? Or putting 140, 150 pounds in that rack and going deep. Right? Full range of motion, slow up and down. What's harder? We all know what's harder because we all know what the ego lifters in the gym do all the time. We know what's harder. You want to show off all that weight that you're pushing. But if you ever got yourself a rope, like a rope for tri-rope pushdowns, put it on just 25 pounds, that's it. Slow down like this, hold for 2 seconds, up slow, 15 reps, you'll feel these suckers burn like you ain't never felt in your life. But if you can put it on, you can put it on 60 and just go like, that's not hard though. That's not the hard work. It's not the hard work. Thank you guys for listening to that. What takes more courage? Listening to all sorts of different trains 6 hours a day, or listen to Coleman Hawkins? Listen to one Coleman Hawkins for 1 month, 6 hours a day. I don't like comparing stuff like that because that's harder for different people. Like they're people who like train, it's gonna be harder to do that, right? Maybe, but people who like Coleman Hawkins is gonna be way harder to do the first. So, I don't. There's no. You got to be careful about like that. Like you got to be careful about like classifying certain musicians as being like gateway drugs or like, hardcore, because that creates a bad social precedent. It's like it's insinuating and implying that Coleman Hawkins is your vegetables. Eat your vegetables. Train is like candy. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just like that's absolutely not true. So let's be careful about that. You're probably not saying that, but I just want to add a disclaimer. It's like really important. For the person that only listens to modern jazz, listening to Coleman Hawkins because they probably should is hard. For the person that only listens to pre-40s jazz and maybe goes to Mona's or something like that and like doesn't listen to anything modern, listening to Roy Hargrove and Robert Glasper is going to be difficult, right? It's all context. So I'm glad. I mean, this technically counts as clips of the week, so we're still on it. Here's a TikTok. It can't pause. Okay. This sample chop will forever excite and fool my ears. All right, what is this? Why is the TikTok in-browser player better than the Instagram one? Like, why? Also, where is the... Oh, there's the thing right here. Okay. Guys, this unfortunately we are not doing a Q&A stream today, but tune in Saturdays. There's going to be a Real Talk Q&A stream there as we do on Saturdays. Let's see, what day is it? Yeah, the 13th. We'll do a Real Talk Q&A stream on the 13th. We'll do some other stuff this week too, so. But I don't want to there's certain questions I don't want to get too far into as we've already kind of gone too far deep a little bit. But yeah, let's look at this. I wonder what this is.
But in the morning this hour would seem a lifetime away. Oh, Glenn.
This hashtag is interesting. It says Jay Dilla was a genius hashtag. So like, what is this?
It's the 788 D10, just like Jake the Snake.
What's this Slum? Is this Slum Village? Is this Slum Village? Is this something he did for Slum Village? I don't remember because I never heard this before. But good God,
Actually, we don't participate, but if you do, then I'ma see you at your weight.
it's Slum Village, right? What is this track? Because that's like, whoo, it's players, bruh. I've been on a big Dilla kick lately. Like in the past few weeks, I've been listening to a lot of them tapes. Like, what? I just got them playing. I'm just like, yeah, especially because I'm in the New Jabez band right now, right? I'm in the New Jabez Metaphorical Ensemble, and so we're playing a lot of New Jabez music, like a lot of stuff that I grew up listening to, but also learning new stuff. But like I've been realizing like the influence and like trying to like fill my gaps into stuff that I didn't really know about. But my God. I can feel my knees. They feel enlightened. Are you filled with a surge of electricity? Wait. We gotta find the timestamp. We gotta find the timestamp. Yeah. Okay. All right. 21-22 is
Suddenly, I discovered that my legs were in a condition of great excitement. They twitched as though charged with electricity and betrayed a considerable and rather dangerous desire to jerk me from my seat.
Yo, when listening to this, like playing this,
Suddenly, I discovered that my legs were in a condition of great excitement.
dude, that needs to be a meme. Suddenly, so, suddenly, my legs were in a condition of great excitement. Yo, it's perfect. It's so perfect. Oh, it's so funny. Can we get it as a sound? Yeah, we need it as a soundboard. Somebody, bro, we need it as a soundboard. Like somebody put some, like, post some fire in the music share, and then like you got the emojis and the reacts and stuff, and then just this. Just this is so funny.
Suddenly, I discovered that my legs were in a condition of great excitement.
Bro, it's so perfect. It's so perfect. Oh, it's so perfect. I think it's so awesome because I have the DVD box set of this. But if they're actually like just straight up upload it to YouTube, that makes it so much easier to share this with you guys. That's like really fun. Like I love that. So it's just so funny. This is so freaking funny. All right. I've seen this clip, I think. I've seen him talk about this, but I wonder if there's more to it. I wonder if this is from the European interview where he's like on the European tour. It's Bill Evans on Rock Music. Pretty sure I've seen this. And I've had my agreements and disagreements with it.
You know, the thing that happens with, like, ask a rock musician to play jazz and he can't do it. Ask a jazz musician to play
I don't care.
rock and he could probably do it in 10 minutes.
It's always, yes, I remember this. It's always this quote that, listen, all the greatest musicians, anybody in the world, including myself, is always open to criticism, okay? Including myself, right? I'm not above that. Everybody is. And I feel like I have a right to talk about how this sentiment about jazz being like this sentiment about jazz being complex and rock being simple, therefore, you know, like technically Bill is not saying anything in those first 10 seconds about the superiority of jazz. But this is the exact type of quote that is used by people. This exact type of quote that is used by people to defend why jazz is superior, right? Like why jazz is better. And you know how like rock was like a drug, but then they got clean and started learning changes. You know, like that type of thing. And I just don't like it. I really just don't like that sentiment. I just want to open up with that like that's what makes me feel so weird about this interview. But he says some cool things, but I just want to let you know that I don't know. Just a disclaimer, I don't really agree with a lot of this stuff, but I think it's important to listen to. And I love how like this is the most replayed because yeah, he just opens up with saying like, he just opens up with saying like, yeah, as a rock musician play jazz, probably can't do it. As a jazz musician play rock, they can probably do it. And I'm like, hold on. You good? Oh, okay. I just thought I heard some things movement. Even in Whiplash, they say that drummers with less ability just play rock music as if there's no skill in that. It's not even. Well, here's the thing. flamenco. You're not wrong in your sentiment, but that's the point I'm trying to make. Is you said like saying like, oh, like they say that drummers with less ability just play rock as if there's no skill in that. My argument is like, why does skill matter? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not that skill doesn't matter. It's just that I think the end goal matters more. Like, the end result matters more than skill. Like, if that wasn't the case, I mean, we wouldn't even have popular music in the first place. You know? But, like, it is what you, like, and plus, skill has many different things. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's, oftentimes when jazz musicians make this type of claim that Bill makes here, is they refer to skill as like, or like playing jazz from like a theoretical standpoint. They talk about the amount of things you have to know, right? They talk about the amount of things you have to know, the amount of things you have to do, the amount of things you have to consider, like as if complexity is what determines like a measurable value. And yeah, exactly, Jacob. I don't agree with it either.
You know, the reason is that rock is a very direct and elementary form of what sort of is happening, and it's very measured. You know, it's an 8 to the bar thing. You know, it's very much on the beat and very, very measured thing. It's not.
Dude Low, very, very great analogy. Great analogy.
Not that difficult to feel and to do, I don't think, for a musician that can handle it, and all I have to do is learn to feel it and handle, start to handle it. But
bro, I can't get any bro, are you kidding me? I can't get any jazz drum. You know how long it took for me to find like Norman? You know how long it took for me to find like people like JK, like Dom? Bro, most jazz musicians can't play rock. Drummers, like, bro, like people that like, bro. And they don't even want to. They can't hit the drums the way you're supposed. There's a, you know what I'm saying? Like they straight up just can't. You say ask the jazzers to play rock, they probably could do it. Yeah, and it sounds so soft. And they're playing feather beaters, and they're playing. You know what I'm saying? They got like a freaking 14-inch bass drum or some kind of crap or whatever. You know, like it's like it's not the same. There's no power. There's no punch. There's no clear delineated forms. But that's just that's like me generalizing. You know, of course there are people that can do it, but I just think this idea that like by virtue of being a jazz musician, the average jazz musician can play rock better than rock music can play jazz. I'm like, I challenge that. Because like at what level are we talking about? If we're talking about like big league pros, yeah, probably. Average? Dude, I can give you some average jazz musicians. I played with some average, pretty decent, like high-level jazz musicians, actually. And like I try to get them to play some J music or whatever, and it's just like it's weak. It's just weak. It's weak. So no, if you want to make the argument that rock drummers don't have the sensibility to play jazz, I'm going to argue that jazz musicians don't have the power to play rock. Oh, by the way, Beacon of Hope is crazy. I don't really know jazz that much. I'm new to music, and this really made me want to learn more. That's awesome. See, that's what I'm talking about. I love that. Thank you so much. That's awesome. That's exactly what I want to do. I want to inspire people to be like that. That's really great. I'm really grateful that I can have people like you that don't really know enough about music and still can appreciate what I do, because that says that I'm doing something right, and I appreciate that. I really, 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 really love that. Because yeah, I don't want that music to just be heady, I want it to deliver a message. And I appreciate you for receiving that. Good luck to you. I love D'Angelo. Big Aaron. Oh, I had a pretty substantial D'Angelo phase in high school.
The jazz thing, I think, might start to handle it, but the jazz thing, I think, my opinion is that it's a little more liquid and
the way he plays it,
maybe a little more sophisticated craft-wise and even feeling-wise. A drummer was telling me to play some rock drums like that. He was waiting all these years to have somebody ask him, what is that ding, digga, ding, digga, ding? He says, it finally happened to Rock Dharma Rastam. He says, because they're always playing the measured beat. And it's a very subtle thing to play jazz time and make it swing and have a pulse. And, rock is, if anything, it's not subtle. I think we can all admit,
Again, when people talk about stuff like this, there's usually a very specific context they're thinking of. I just made the observation that when Bill just said that jazz, it's like there's more to do, is like more sophisticated, or like the time is more liquid. I said interjectingly, which I would have said in real life if he said this, like in reverse, I would say, the jazz you play, right? The jazz you play is liquid, right? But not all jazz is like that. What year's the interview? I think it's in the 60s. I'm pretty sure it's in the 60s, but I forgot. Trying to find the actual year. Maybe it's in this comment. Sometimes you can find it in the comments. It's not here. I'm pretty sure it's in the 60s. I think this was the interview, because I saw like a video of him talking about this like at a European concert. Let me put this. Save this in there. Pretty sure it was like from a European concert. But yeah, it's like musicians have colorful lives and opinions, what I'm saying? Like, no one's perfect and no one's one-dimensional. There's always some level of nuance that people have about themselves. And in this case, Bill's nuance, uncomfortable nuance, is that he's one of the greatest jazz pianists and innovative jazz pianists of our music. But he also has this very strong, opinionated idea about rock music versus jazz music. Google says 1972. Okay, yeah. I just wonder if that's coloring his opinions of rock a bit. Like me coloring. Like me? What am I saying that's coloring his opinions? Your school has a rock band, Herbie? That's crazy. Pat, if you could have been born at any year through jazz history, what year would you choose? I don't know. I mean, I feel pretty good. I couldn't do anything that I've done right now. I couldn't do anything that I'm doing today. I couldn't release Beacon of Hope if I was born in any other era. Like, if I was born in any other era that would not allow me to witness Dragon Ball Z as a young person, then I wouldn't have made Beacon of Hope. So, and I like Beacon of Hope. I like Mystic Dance. I like being like that. Like, Dreamweaver is. I'm a half Jamaican weeb. So half of the single is like Caribbean rooted music. And half of the single is anime weeb jazz. So I couldn't make that if I was born in any other time. He's saying the year. I just gave you the answer.
Yeah, it's very direct. There's nothing wrong with being direct. I don't like to go around corners. Even
because that's the other thing. He said the reason why I paused the video is because he just said, I feel like if you're early enough in rock history, maybe Bill wasn't giving it a fair shake. Yeah, him. Okay, you're talking about me. Okay, because we have a lot of arguments, so I was just trying to make sure you weren't talking about me. Yeah, he's absolutely coloring. Like, he's absolutely doing that. Why do you think people think jazz is dying or dead? Because their version of jazz that they like is not popular anymore.
even when you're subtle.
Yeah. And anyway, the reason why I paused it is because I've thought about all the myriad of different jazz of rock recordings that are like works of just works of art, like just beautiful, incredible. And if this is 1972, we can play something from the 60s that completely goes against what he said. Like,
studio. I see we got a few friends later around here in the studio. Yeah, okay. Mr. Nolan, I'd like to do a little number for you right
This would have been like many years. When was it? When was the BBC sessions? I forgot what year this was. Was it 67 or something? What was this? Hold on. Yeah, 67, like I thought. So, which is the year that Train died. Funny enough. But yeah, listen to this.
You all together now? You all together? Yeah. We'd like to throw a little bit of blues on you here. Yeah, okay. Get my heart
Right away, you already got what he says is direct, right? You already got dynamics, right? He's not going crazy already.
together again.
Ultimate Forte.
Well, I wait around the train station, waiting for that train, waiting for that train to take me from this lonesome town.
Oh, come on. You got variety, world building, story building, all on one chord. You already had like 4 different things happening. Sophistication. There's already sophistication here. The problem with like a lot of jazz musicians in the way that Bill is talking about here, the problem with a lot of jazz musicians, the people that think like this, that ironically make jazz musicians, especially like a lot of straight ahead jazz musicians, some of the most one-dimensional musicians, ironically, some of the most one-dimensional musicians on the planet, is that most straight ahead jazz musicians are looking at music from a quantitative lens instead of a qualitative lens. They think they're looking at it from a qualitative lens, but the problem is they're quantifying the quality. But I just proved that if I do the same thing that you do to other types of music, right? Because like what Bill said in his interview, right? Like where he's saying like, you know, it's very direct, you know, rock, like basically insinuate there's like just as the beat, it's like in your face, like, you know, like a rock drummer asking his drummer what the ding digga ding is. Oh, like it's liquid, it's fluid, it's so, you know, so there's less, right? There's less sophistication, less, more. I just proved to you already. I just showed you. You just heard it all on one chord. 4 different moments and types of things happen. You had a very quiet dynamic, right? World building with one instrument, some vocals. You had the band come in to change the dynamic. You had the voice on top of it, telling the story. Break, leaving some space for the melody to, in an odd phrase too. It wasn't just an 8-bar phrase. It was on top of a, you know, it made like a 10-bar phrase. If you want to be quantitative about it, like jazz musicians love to do, you can do that here all on one chord. Imagine there were 2 chords. Oh, whoa, that'd be crazy, right? But if you're looking at music from a quantitative lens, you're missing the point of music entirely. You're looking at it as math, which is what a lot of jazz musicians tend to do anyway. It's why we as jazz musicians tend to get criticism for our music being too heady and for our music being like not connecting with people and people saying I don't get jazz, because we're not putting enough. We're assuming that the audience is stupid and we're shutting them out on purpose. And then saying that, because you got to be real, that's what we do. That's what jazz musicians tend to do. They shut the audience out on purpose. It's like, if you don't get what I'm doing, it's not my job to make you get it. That's what's in the back of every jazz musician's mind. And it's and you wonder why somebody's like, why is jazz not popular? Yeah. Like, it's because most jazz musicians have decided they don't want it to be popular, which is fine. And that's acceptance is great. However, saying stuff like this, and again, Bill said this in 1972, but he's not the first or the last person to say this. And if we want to have any type of like, you know, connection or like, you know, audience for this music, we got to stop like assuming that the audience is stupid. It's wild. You said Bill had a career through the golden age of rock. Bill wouldn't have a career if it wasn't for Miles Davis. Cannonball brought Bill to Miles. He wouldn't have a career if it wasn't for Cannonball. It's just the truth. Our bro, this is too real, and yes, the autistic experience is hella isolating, but you're absolutely right. We only have one life to live that we know of. Yeah, I like that last part, yeah. But I clipped the ragtime guy talking about Bill Evans is also a very insecure person. A lot of jazz musicians are insecure. That's why they play jazz. Jazz allows you to escape your insecurities. Ironically, jazz is a music that you need to get rid of your insecurities the most to get the most out of it. It's like the one type of music where you really need to get rid of that, but like you can easily escape into jazz as an insecure person because you can turn to the math and you can always infinitely scale upwards with theory. There is no ceiling to what you can accomplish with the mathematics of jazz music. And I don't just mean mathematics as in like binary math or like, addition and subtraction. I'm talking about all sorts of things like calculus, like, quantum, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like calculus, quantum math, whatever that, like you can think about the liquidity of jazz and the time feel can be mathematically explained. You can do that. You know what I'm saying? If you really wanted to, you could talk about like how 4/4 is not really 4/4. It can be anything, you can do anything you want. You can get as heady as you want and never address yourself. So like, but the thing that rock does that, a lot of these jazz musicians don't do is that like it does force you to kind of have a personality. Like you do have to get up there and look like you're having fun. You do have to go up there and give your all into the song. You do have to tell a story. You do have to be present. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know how much power you could have as a jazz musician if you do that? That's why all the best jazz musicians in the world, even today, right? And in history and today, do that. That's just the point. America was in a completely different place in the late 50s, early 60s when Bill Evans got popular with Miles. Like it was when he introduced his concepts to the world, right? The world was in a different place. Film noir was a thing. Jean-Luc Godard films, like culturally America was in a different place, and then they moved away from that place. It was about the like heady, thick glasses, smoking a cigarette inside, like having a book with a glass of whiskey, like listening to jazz music. That was like the culture. It was like to be hip like that, but it's not the culture anymore. So what are you going to do about it? Sorry. Not sorry. We're not in that time anymore. You can go to places where it's like that, but I don't believe in trashing like or saying weird misconceptions about stuff, just because that's not the thing I want to do. I love all music. Like I genuinely think music is valuable and it's great. But that's me. What did you say? Huh? Did you type something? Where is it? Neil, what'd you type? Did I miss something you typed? By the way, there's a later interview where he notices and splits between elementary and more sophisticated rock in both genres, elements mixing together. Send that one to me then. Oh, hanging out with a glass of whiskey, listening to jazz. Oh, I love that, bro. Listen, one of my favorite experiences of being in Japan was going to like one of those bars at like midnight when the trains are closing and just like sitting in there. It was like there's like 3 or 4 people in there, got a little glass, and they're playing like John Coltrane records and like Lee Morgan. It's like the greatest experience. That I'm grateful to. If it wasn't for me going to Japan, I would not be as reinvigorated to play jazz as I am now, because like Japan made me feel seen and respected, and also it also made me like feel like, wow, jazz is cool, because Japan thinks jazz is cool. So like, wow, like there's a thing to like about it. And I was like, I need to invest and lean more into the personality of jazz instead of just playing the notes. It's beautiful, it's great, and like that's why I talk about imagination so much. This type of conversation that's like had like in this video is like all heady stuff. I mean, it's so perfect. I mean, look at what people think is cool. Look at the picture that this person chose of Bill Evans to put on the as the thumbnail for the interview. It's him writing down in a notebook. What other music do you know of besides maybe classical music? I don't know. Where like the cool thing is like a black and white like perspective, like piano perspective photo of them writing down in a notebook. What does that have to do with jazz? Like it's just funny, right? Like that's the idea, and like you wouldn't do that for rock. You wouldn't do that for pop. You wouldn't do that for the blues. You wouldn't do that for soul music. You wouldn't do that for R&B. But this is what's cool. Is like the introspective. You're figuring something out. If I crop this image right now, you would have no idea. Look, watch this. Watch this, dude. Like, just watch this. Bro, look at this. Look, you have no idea that it's even a piano. Dude, this right here looks like a lamp. Like this little gooseneck. I think it's like a mic or something. Like, what about if I had this as my banner on Twitter or Facebook and you had no idea about like who Bill Evans was? You wouldn't know that this has anything to do with jazz. You dig? It's so funny. It's just like it's fine. It's fine. I'm just saying this is what the image of jazz has kind of become for people who are not jazz musicians. And even for people who are jazz musicians, it is just like this. This doesn't look like jazz at all. Like I mean, it doesn't look like music. He's in a suit and tie, thick glasses, with a gooseneck thing that looks like it could be a lamp, and he's writing something. You know? I just wanted to talk about that because I think it's important. I'm actually in Japan for the summer. Really? That's awesome. You should come to the tour. You went to a yakitori place and they're playing Beacon of Hope. Wow, did you take a video of it? Yo, James, thank you for the $2. Or? Grading your students' papers be like, Burnell, famous Dex about to do that for rap? Huh. Really? You should educate me. Chris, did you take a video of that? Because that's crazy. I'm about to be... That's crazy. Why were they playing Beacon of Hope in a freaking... You say ignore that? Oh. That's crazy. Like, if I go to Japan this summer and I hear that, I'm going to freak out. That's crazy to hear. Wow. I don't know, like, I got 3 weeks until I go there. It's about 3 weeks. I don't know if it'll still be in rotation by that point, but we'll see. I gotta get the Japan trip out of the group chat. What does that mean? Let's check out something else. I'm kind of done with this. Ooh, interesting. The new U.S. jazz generation, early 90s, with Roy Hargrove, Antonio Hart. Huh. Let's check this out. Christian Rodham. Okay, interesting. Yeah. Yeah, Bruno, because you were there, right? Like, and you have Blue Note too. Yeah. When you went to Japan, it was the 2 weeks I went back to New York. That's wild. That sucks. That really sucks. Yeah, Bruno, that's the best. That's absolutely the best, like, the best thing about being in Japan is the audiences.
The jazz trumpeter is Ryan Kaiser.
Wow. Young Ryan. Wow. Yo, when is this from? No description. Y'all got to start putting descriptions in y'all videos, bro. When is this from? Wait, okay, I can find out when this is from by finding out like how old they were, I guess. Christian brought like 39 at 19. If he was 19 in this video, and he's like, what, 52 now or something? Wait. 54. Okay. He's 54. 1972. And he was 19. So 1991? I'll be around that time? Okay. It was like 1991 around that time then. Okay. No phones in sight. Yeah.
He's 18 years old.
18 years old. Okay, even better. Okay. Ryan Kaiser. How old is Ryan? Okay, yep. So this is 1991. All right.
He's just about to release his first album. Kaiser is one of many very young musicians who are getting record contracts this year. And the record companies are describing his generation, and these are folks who are 18, 20, 22 years old.
Man, people were really like 80s, like not even 80s, 90s, but like since the 50s. From the 50s up until the 90s, like the type of storyboarding and like direct like camera direction that people had, like the idea of jazz. Like I don't know if you ever watched like The Subject is Jazz, the Billy Taylor show. Same thing, right? Like 1958. The way people kind of like direct the camera is always so cool to me because like you can tell they're trying to set a vibe. Like the direction instead of it. It's like a lost art, man. Like trying to set a vibe with camera direction and posing, and like this is a really cool shot. It shows you where he is in a vibe playing, and like he's still going, but then he's deciding to talk, changing the subject of what your attention should be on, but without removing him completely from the context. That's really cool, like framing.
As brilliant new voices creating a new era in jazz.
Like regardless of how corny it might be to some people, which is fair, I just think it's cool that they thought of this. You mean in the context of being in Japan? Yeah, playing in Japan. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Very high praise. But do these musicians really believe their own hype? Do they think that they're as good as their record companies say they are?
Wow, that's a great question. What is this? That's actually that's a good question. What channel is this? Is it who directed this? I hate that there's no description. That's a really good question. No one asks questions like that anymore. That's killing. And yes, you're absolutely right, Neil. Yeah, live photos for concert photography has their own language. I love live concert photos. It is true. Like you can, that's an art, absolutely. But this is also killing too. Like what? That's a great. If you missed that question, listen to that question.
Jazz, very high praise. But do these musicians really believe their own hype? Do they think that they're as good as their record companies say they are?
It's like a really interesting question to pose. Especially with all the type of stuff that we talk about, right? We talk about like confidence and all that kind of stuff. It really gives you a snapshot into like the type of mentality that was passed down like through my generation and like you guys' generation.
And can anyone this young be a jazz great?
Beautiful. See, I know like you can tell when somebody's hip also when they're posting hip videos to react to, because this is Slate, like Charlie the bass player, posting this to react to, and I'm like, yeah, like he's hip, he's a great bass player going to new school, and this is a very hip video. This is killing already. 40 seconds in and I'm like, okay, where are we going with this?
Jazz DJ James Brown has this report.
Oh! Wait, who's on piano? Who's on piano? Who's on piano? Who's on piano? Who is that on piano? Bro, okay. I got freaked out for a second. I was like, what? Dude, that looked like Kenny Garrett, like for a minute. But I was like, that's very possible. It does look. No, yeah. It does kind of look. Let's see. It might be down there. But like, I wonder if that's young Mark.
Hello, I'm Antonio Hart.
Antonio! Big ups to Uncle Antonio. Maestro. The best. Yeah, I mean, it looked like young Mark. Which is amazing. I mean, Mark is still doing his thing, man. But yeah, Antonio, man. Antonio Hart. My first ever modern alto influence, man. Always will forever get up to Antonio. Like, love Antonio Hart, man. Just a great person, too. Whew. Yeah.
And I'm 23 years old.
Wow.
Hello, I'm Roy Hargrove, and I'm 22 years old.
You said
I'm Gregory Hutchinson, and I'm 21 years old.
Oh, Hutch. Wow, okay.
I'm Christian McBride, and
I'm going to send this to Christian. This is killing.
Hello, I'm Gregory Hutchinson, and I'm 21 years old.
I'm Christian McBride, and I'm 19 years old.
There's a lot of cats.
Branford. You go Branford.
Not just Roy, Antonio, and Christian McBride. There's Greg, Greg Hutchinson, the drummer in that band. And there's a little cat in Los Angeles, Eric Reed.
Yes.
There's my little homie from New Orleans, Nicholas Payton, and Marlon Jordan, and Chris Thomas.
This particular kind of excitement,
Gary Giddens, man. Love Gary. He's killing.
Is new. I don't think it's something that you would compare to anything in the 60s or the swing era of the 30s or bop in the 40s. It seems to me something new. It's something that's characterizing the music at the end of this century, of jazz's century. And it could only happen at this period when people are really willing to look back. The Oedipal impulse is over. It's no more a question of, got to kill Dad and establish my own. It's now everybody's going back and saying, Dad had something there, and we can work on it. This is.
He says Branford, I think he looks way younger. Yeah, that's what not abusing substances and taking care of your body does to you.
a new moment in jazz.
Being clean cut helps, and shaving helps too.
This new generation cites jazz greats such as John Coltrane, Duke Ellington, Louis Armstrong, Charlie Parker, and Thelonious Monk as their musical mentors.
Man, young Christian reminds me of Russell.
The record companies, neo-traditionalist jazz is a lucrative new market.
Yeah. For kids in their teens and 20s, demographically, let's say from 18 to 30, to discover these young artists is really, it's their discovery. And I think that's who we're trying to target, although I'm sure, the company would like to sell records to any person of any age.
Age is a great paradox in jazz. The press always goes after the young musicians. It makes them great celebrities, and then when they, it's like women in the movies. When they're 25, they start playing mothers. In jazz, it's the same thing. They're good copy when they're very young. They like the idea, especially today in the 90s, if they can find a good-looking, young, cute black guys. They play that up as for reasons that are not entirely musical.
I hate that he's not wrong, but Lord, is that uncomfortable to hear out loud.
Show business is a business that is run by Transylvanians, as in Count Dracula and his. That is, they will stick fangs in, and those fangs have holes in them, and they will suck your blood if they can.
Stanley Crouch and these extended metaphors. Rest in peace, Stanley. The most colorful man in jazz literature. Yo, Drac Flow 6.
what does it take to become a jazz great? How much is technical virtuosity? And how much is life experience?
I mean, jazz is based on trial and error.
Oh man, young Ron, well, not young, but like, you know, prime Ron. Wow.
Mistakes, learning how to fix them.
Bro, Ron is eternal. Like, I don't think it's ever going to be possible. I don't think he'll ever look old. Like, I don't know what, I mean, we know Ron's secret. I mean, he exercises, right? And he eats right, and he never does any substances, whatever. But like, my God, like, Ron is just, this is not a 54-year-old Ron. That's a lie. This is a 31-year-old Ron right here. Like, I just like, it's just kind of ridiculous. It's kind of, I don't think he's ever gonna look old, and I'm jealous. I don't think he's ever gonna age. We love that for him.
Learning how to set them up, how to repair it, how to learn songs, to have a library of songs to pick from. How's a 20-year-old guy have this kind of accumulation of information? I don't see how that's possibly possible.
Man, what an incredible person, man. What an incredible man. Ron Carter. Love Ron, man. Wow.
About Charlie Parker and Clifford Brown, I mean, they were alive, and most of the best music, the music that you hear on recording, they were recorded in their 20s. I mean,
But
how can you say that?
The difference.
Thank you. Like, coming from the Charlie Parker of my generation. Like, coming from the Charlie Parker of my generation, Roy Hargrove, who we all look up to like that, right? He was always there. Like, the room stops when Roy, from as soon as I came to New York, right? The room stops when Roy walked in, right? It's like the room stops. You know what I'm saying? Like, for those of y'all who weren't around for when Roy was in New York, like, he's the reason I want to move to New York. I was resolved of like, I got to meet Roy. I got to play with Roy. That was like my resolve. And coming from him, that's exactly true too. He's not wrong when he says, yeah, all the greatest recordings and musicians that we talk about, that we love, they were in their 20s, teens and 20s, making this music. They all were. We're talking about like musicians releasing the music of their prime, of their prime music of life from when they're like between the ages of like 20 and 25. Dude, Charlie Parker was born in 1920. He released Coco in 1945. That's 25 years old. Sonny Rollins, you know, like the Sonny Rollins that we hear on Miles at Birdland 1951. Well, Sonny was born in 1930. He was only 20 years old in that recording, right? And so it's like, I do like that he said what he said, because it lends credence to, it brings attention. It brings attention to the fact that we do need to foster young players. We do need to give attention to, like, you know, and embrace what our great young musicians have to offer and what they're putting out, right? Like, we do have to like support young musicians playing this music instead of like idolizing, you know, only like the idea that you're only good when you're past 40 or something. You know, we gotta stop doing it. The reason why we think that is because this music is hard. So the average person can't play it by the time they're 25, but there are people that are doing it, and we gotta stop shutting people down if they are playing music between 20 to 25. You know, like, we gotta give them a chance, man, because they're killing it and they're crushing it. That's why I got young Will Schwartzman in my band, man. It's like 21, 22 or something like that. I don't know. I think maybe 21 right now. You know, that it's important to me to, like, I want to do for him what, like, you know, people started doing for me, but then like kind of stopped. You know, it's like, it's really important. Foster the young people, because they're out there doing stuff. Everybody's doing stuff.
Difference is
That you hear on recording, they were recorded in their 20s. I mean, how can you say that?
The difference is, there was a time, and jazz was the music of the time when these people were coming up. when they went out to hear music or when they heard music on the radio, what they heard was jazz. They lived jazz every day. Our generation, we're getting it kind of secondhand from records, and we're able to hear masters play it, the few that are left with us. So it's a different time for us. So it might take us a little bit longer.
Wow, it's like I'm a prophet, right? 35 years ago, this video was made. We're saying the same thing 35 years later, and we're going to continue to keep saying it 35 years from now. You guys understand why it's hard? This is coming from guys that we look up to as the masters now. They're like in their 50s now. Everybody in this video is like in their 50s now. And we're looking at them, you know, like they're the masters, which they are. They're great, but like they didn't. What Antonio just said is just as true then as it is now. Just as true now as it is then. When he said the difference is they live jazz. They were there, you know what I'm saying? Like every day, but we're just listening, you know, we're learning from the recordings the best we can. But they're still in their 20s, 23, 22. They still did it. So y'all got it. There's no excuses. It's just going to be different.
You can only play what you've lived. I mean, if you've, like me, I've only been here 19 years.
Wild, by the way. 19. This is 19 years old Christian McBride. Not 32. This is 19 years old Christian McBride, by the way.
And I don't even remember all 19 years because nobody really starts remembering until like they're 2 years old. So, you know, you can never really, you know, like you said, play as good as an older musician. You have to, certain things you can't do on an instrument unless you've lived a while.
Well, Chris McBride
True.
has a physical genius for his instrument. I mean, the others are very good players, but he has a physical genius for the instrument. I mean, that the way he can play the instrument at 19 years old or whatever it is. See, you can't learn how to play the way he plays the bass just by practicing. You had to practice to do it. But you see, Hemingway points out, I think it's in Death in the Afternoon, that the genius is not someone who doesn't work hard, but is a person who learns at a much greater velocity.
Oh, come on, Mark. Hey.
Experience is a key ingredient in jazz, but the current focus on young players ignores world-class jazz musicians in their 40s and 50s. They're glossed over by both the press and the record industry.
I think that when people are given the impression that these, what the press calls the young lions, are the people to be looked upon as the current flag carriers, that can't possibly be true. It's eliminating two generations of players who have developed their art to the place where they have earned the right to be considered the next people of this music. Historically, musically, personally, artistically, and to eliminate them totally, it turns jazz history in a strange direction.
So you have all...
Absolutely great point, and that is also something that is also a fair point, and that's something that, like, it's the biggest criticism of the Young Lions movement, as they call it, that I think is completely valid. Because the flip side, right? The flip side of looking at things from like, oh yeah, we got to foster the young generation, we got to foster them. It doesn't mean to ignore everyone else. It just means don't ignore the young people. However, there is a certain type of like, almost an element of like obsession or like fetishization with youth, right? Like this kind of like disgusting obsession that happens. It is almost like what Stanley Crouch says, like a type of vampirism. It really is vampirism, but in a different way than he talked about, or maybe he did mean it this way. But what I mean by vampirism is, I mean, draining the life out of young players to give to the old people. That is like, it's like if there was an iceberg, maybe I should make it. I don't know. If there is a jazz musician iceberg or like a jazz student iceberg or whatever, like in the middle, in the deep part of that iceberg, the horror is the idea and the theory, the conspiracy theory that has a lot of credence as someone who experienced this type of thing happen to me. The idea of like a certain type of vampirism that can be almost, again, I'm not saying that this is like absolute verifiable truth. It is at least a cognitive, you can make a cognition from it, but there is something to be said about the vampirism that happens from people that I don't want to say their names. I don't want to say their names because I'm public and like I start spreading rumors and start saying stuff. You know, like it can ruin my career if I start talking about this, but like there'll be a time where I will be able to talk about it. But there is a certain level of vampirism that happens. Like propping up young people as being the torchbearers to do things that the old people cannot do anymore. You know what I mean? Like the idea of like this new approach is going to save the music. We're going to look at these people as opposed to like what Ron's saying, which is very, again, it's poignant. It's a valid perspective to have. And it's okay, Evan, to not agree with Ron, but I think what's important to understand is that even though I had my take, the thing that is to be nuanced and have like see both sides of this, the other side of it in terms of what Ron is saying is there are musicians who worked hard. A lot of people I played with on the scene that are currently like in their 60s and 70s that weren't a part of the quote unquote Young Lions movement, you know, or who were in their 60s and 70s when I was playing with them, who got overshadowed even though they're great and they sound amazing and they're great musicians, right? But like, I can think of the most famous example who is not a part of the Young Lions movement, Joe Lovano. Thank God people realize that he's killing, right? And that he like made a career because like he's Joe is just Joe, right? Like there's nobody like Joe. He's an incredible musician. But there are a lot of people that are on the level that deserved the same type of recognition that the young players got, right? There's a certain but they didn't get it or like feel like they were overshadowed by them specifically because there was this type of like vampirism thing. Yes, he was. But people didn't really start. It's crazy how like Joe's career within the greater jazz space, people didn't really check out his stuff until like he was in his 30s. And I think that's obviously that's criminal, but I think it's like really interesting to point out. Just to say that, you know, there are people that weren't a part of this kind of scene-ish, this kind of thing, right? The quote-unquote Young Lions, that also had a voice, that also had stuff to talk about. Is it more complicated than just exploiting people? I'm not talking about exploiting people. I'm saying that's like that's an angle to talk about. Like, and I'm not even talking about money because I'm actually not talking about money at all. Funny enough, I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about specifically social and also like personal, like just people that I know, people I've interacted with, weirdos, philanthropists, all sorts of people that I've interacted with that we know of that like, well, not you, but people in my sphere know of that do have this sort of weird, it's the constant rotation of young people, right? Like having to have this constant rotation of young people as opposed to like for the wrong reasons, for business reasons. Like it wasn't a thing, like back in 1945 or 1955 or whatever, there was no initiative for the Young Lions. Charlie Parker wasn't a young lion. Clifford Brown wasn't a young lion. Not even Tony Williams was a young. He was like freaking 13 on his first record with like Sam Rivers. I mean, like there weren't young lions. That was a marketing thing. That was like that was a thing deliberately played out. It's insane. Guys, I want you guys to think about what the idea of quote unquote young lions, like what that insinuates. It insinuates that jazz is old. You guys understand what I'm talking about? It insinuates that jazz is old. It's for old people and only old people play it. But here's some young guys. Wow. It's weird. It's like, here's proof. Look at this. But it's important to look at what Roy said. It's a great point. Even though Antonio breaks down like another good, like, hey, here's an addendum to this. Like, here's more, expand on it. Like, they were living in jazz back then. Yes, that is true. But also at the same time, we got to realize Roy's point is not wrong. He was like, what's wrong? What's so different about what we're doing? Like, what's wrong with that? Like, like, it's a good point. It's like these guys were in their 20s when they were making the greatest recordings that we all love to transcribe and listen to and hold dear to be the greatest recordings of all time. They're like in their 20s. Like it is true. Louis Armstrong, same thing. Duke Ellington, same thing. Louis Armstrong, Heebie Jeebies, released when he was like 26. It changed the world. It changed the world. Top 5 top 7 to change the world. Jelly Roll Morton, same thing, was in his 20s. It was actually rare for musicians to because being a musician was like a young thing. Like being a musician was like a hip thing. It was like sexy. You know what I'm saying? Like the musicians in the band, you know what I'm saying? They weren't like, let's see, when was Frank Sinatra born? Born in 1915. When was his debut? Wait, he's actually a lot older than I thought he was. That's crazy. $1939. Yes. Okay. Yeah, Harry James Band. Right. So, what is that, 24 around when he made his debut? But I guess that doesn't really count because it's singers. Everyone wants young singers. But even like musicians, right? Like the musicians are always young. Like it's like a young people's thing. So it's really funny that we're like, there is something to be said. There is something to be said about the odd, weird feeling, the ickiness that you can feel about being quote unquote young lions. Because there is something to be said, like, oh yeah, they're old lions. These are the young ones. Yeah. It's creepy. When you think about it, it is. And it's okay to acknowledge that. But like that's why the angle I take is just to give young people a voice. Like, but not seek out, don't seek it's just strange. Like just don't be weird. Don't be creepy. You know what I mean? But there is a certain type of vampirism that can be criticized about the Young Lions movement. It's just a product of jazz becoming institutionalized and commercialized. Jazz, well, the first part, not the second part. Jazz started off being commercialized, but it's not like it just suddenly became like that. Like you have to understand history. You have to be careful to understand history when making a point like that, because it can start to feel like we're looking at jazz as being starting in the 60s, but like jazz in the 1920s was absolutely the most commercial music. Like it was the first real commercial music, like nationally syndicated commercial music. From 1917, when the original Dixieland Jazz Band like released the first jazz recording, jazz was flying off the wall. Like, anything with the word jazz in it was a big business. Tim Panelli couldn't produce enough jazz to satisfy people's needs. There needed to be a new jazz song every week. You know what I'm saying? Like you know what I'm saying? Like jazz was hot business. It was very big business for a little bit until it wasn't. Then swing took over, which was different and separate from jazz. But anyway, let's finish this video up.
All of the people who are alive now, like George Coleman and Clifford Jordan and the Modern Jazz Quartet and Tommy Flanagan and Buster Williams and Kenny Barron. I mean, I'm going to mess over a lot of names. Ron Carter, Tony Williams, the people who made us what we are, and they're just casually glossed over because they're too old, which is definitely a manifestation of pop music. That's the new jazz order.
If we...
Oh, Branford. Oh, Branford.
We weren't recording these young, pure jazz musicians. Maybe we would be recording fusion artists. Maybe we'd be recording avant-garde artists that are older or younger. I mean, there's no guarantee that we would be moving towards this middle-aged group of people that I've heard critics talk about.
Nobody can be deaf to everything that's happened in the music in the last 20 years, and simply by being who they are in the realm of time, they are bringing something new to it. I'm a little surprised that they aren't looking more at contemporary popular music at ways of infusing their interpretations. For example, the influence of rap is virtually negligible in jazz.
Ooh, I love this. This is 1991. Oh, this is why Gary's my GOAT, bro. Gary's presence in Ken Burns Jazz is like of my top 3, like definitely at some of the highest ranks of my experiences of watching Ken Burns Jazz. I love his inclusion. I love his writing. I love his mention. I love his anecdotes. I love everything. And this is very prophetic. It's very beautiful. I love that he's saying this. Because he's saying this he's not saying this in a way that we associate with like the jazz consensus of like, you know, or the jazz constituency. We're not saying this in the way of like, oh man, like, you know, jazz, they need to play the roots, they need to play the tradition, everybody playing hip hop, whatever. No, he's saying like, jazz musicians, good thing they're not incorporating hip hop. No, he's like, man, I wonder why they don't do that. They should do that more. I love that. You know, he's about the continuation. He's about the future of it, and that's I think is really cool.
Practically doesn't exist. Louis Armstrong made a record. He's got me hoodooed, I think it was called, back in the 30s or 40s, which sounds like a rap record. But I don't see any jazz people today doing very much with it. I'm not sure if I would want them to necessarily, but I am surprised that there isn't a great deal of interest.
These people
love that, because the kind of one of the main stars in this video would literally do exactly just that in less than 10 years. Well, I guess about 10 years. Sure. 2000. You know, 1999, 2000. With D'Angelo and Voodoo. You know, his own RH Factor. You know, like I love that. I love that that literally happens right after that.
Rap, I mean, there are no notes in there at all. You know, I went across the street and I came right back and I want you to know I'm black. I mean, that kind of, what you gonna do with that with a saxophone?
It's okay, guys. We love and respect Stanley. But remember, people have opinions. Sometimes they say stuff that's just not right. Army, yeah, exactly. There's complete opposite opinions. You had one that's like, yeah, it's cool if it happens. Yeah, why not? And he's like, why would they do that? There's no notes.
You can do anything with that. You know, so what I mean is that these people are really in a true avant-garde. And see, when you're in a period of decadence, to go backward is to go forward.
I just wanted to be different too. I didn't want to do what everybody else was doing, you know, which was playing the top 40 hits off the radio. You know, I wanted to really go into something that was meaningful, and it meant a lot to our people. So you know, that's what I dealt with.
The reason I chose jazz, coming from a classical background, I felt restricted playing that music. I didn't feel like I had the freedom where I could really totally express myself, because I felt the composer pretty much put down on paper what he wanted you to do and you followed those guidelines. And when I listened to jazz, I felt like finally I could like you know, create something on my own.
Hey, Cyrus. That's Cyrus Chestnut. They didn't say he was gonna be in the video. That's Cyrus. Yo. Love
The ambition of a person who goes into jazz is to be an adult. It's to learn what love means, how to express it, what tenderness is about, what death is, what courage is, what the real deep emotions and experiences of human life truly are. And when you hear people like Louis Armstrong, like Billie Holiday, like Sarah Vaughan, like Thelonious Monk, they're not talking about childish things.
I mean,
a new generation in jazz. That report from.
But like, so I don't want to. I don't want to get into this right now because I want to end the stream. But like, the idea of like, oh, like, you know, the last thing Stanley said, you know, like, yo, they ain't talking about childish things. It was like, you know, humans express things. Art is here to help us communicate ideas. I don't want anybody to think that the only thing worth playing, the only thing worth doing is approaching maturity. That's the thing. That's what I'm talking about. That's the reason why I said it feels like vampirism and why it feels like fetishization of youth. Because like the whole idea behind this Young Lions thing is that it's a novelty, and it's a novelty and a surprise and a shock and a joy for like, or let's not say the word joy. It's a novelty and a shock to see young people doing things associated with being older than what they are. In Japanese, you have a word called gyapu. Like, Japanese people say gyapu, and gyapu is like a certain, it's an example of a gyapu is like a really cute girl who bench presses. Or like opposite, like a really buff guy who likes gardening and wearing pink. That's called gyapu, right? It's like the idea of like something being really attractive because there's like two opposites working, like, you know, like there's like it's like, and I guess gyapu meaning like gap. There's like a gap in between the expectation and then the reality of what it is, and it feels taboo. And that's what it feels like, and it's a thing that's always been in the back of my head for like 15 years when I became kind of a part of the next generation of Young Lions in New York. I didn't realize till I got older how weird it felt, like how weird it is, right? And it's why I never went into it fully. I never really hung out with people. And I've heard some crazy stories about people that are my age now, or like my friends, and the stuff that happened to them and stuff that they engaged with willingly or unwillingly. And it's just like weird. It's just, I don't like it. It's very strange. I'm never going to go into those things out of respect and privacy for my friends. But there's a lot of stuff that happens as a result of like this weird fetishization of like, oh, look, this 18, 19, 20-year-old is like really killing. It should stop there. But it's not the fact that they're killing that makes it like that people are attracted to in this type of business. The thing that they're attracted to is the fact that they're mature, but not mature. That gyapu in Japanese, right? The fact that they're like somebody like Christian, who is 19 years old, but talking and acting like he's in his 30s, right? This is, you know what I'm saying? Like that's like really attractive for people, especially for the business. And this is not to say anything about Christian. I don't want it to get misconstrued. This is not about Christian. Christian's a badass and doing whatever he wanted to do. That was just how he was. It wasn't his fault. And it's not like anything, you know, like whatever. The point is, there are people in this business, in this industry, that seek that out because of that type of weird vampiric fetish. And I think it's important to understand that, like, as a lesson, hopefully, to like just keep it about the music, guys. Like, just keep it about the music. Like, keep it about the music, because there's going to be a lot of people that want to make it not about that. But as long as you stay focused and keep it about the music, you won't fall prey to that stuff, even when you do get good. But just yeah, it's just weird. It is so weird. Yeah, Gyapumoe. Exactly, sure. Yeah. It comes from Gyapumoe, right? Because that is the vibe, right? But you can use the term Gyapu for like a bunch of different things. But yes, it is spelled, you can, that's the English way of spelling it, Piggy. Yes. Oh my God, Neil. But anyway, we got into a lot of deep stuff today, man. It was great. Great stream today. It felt good. Thank you guys for watching. I'm going to take my contacts out now because I'm tired. But it's my first stream without wearing glasses. I'm expecting my new glasses this week because I got a new prescription. So I'm hoping I'll get them and then we can show those too, which are kind of cool. But yeah, join the Discord if you haven't. I think the thing that I talked about, I might, like with the whole kind of drug, like substance conversation, I might post that soon. I might kind of post that earlier than later because I think that's an important thing that we talked about. But regardless, thank you guys. Join the Discord if you haven't. I don't know if anyone is posting the link, but if not, I'll post it. Let me see here. Invite. All right, there it is. So, yeah, all good. Somebody asked if when I was bringing back Jazz Vault review, and I have some announcements to make at some point when I feel comfortable making them. There's gonna be a lot more content very soon, but it might, well, not very soon, but on the horizon. Next year is gonna be a really crazy year. There's gonna be a lot of stuff towards the end of this year too, but my life is moving in a really crazy direction, and I'm trying to take my time with it and be very careful and make sure I make the right decisions for my future, my career, and also for like people around me that are involved with my life. So, yeah, a lot of cool stuff to look forward to. But until then, thank you guys for watching. Join the Discord and the conversation, and I'll see you guys at the very least. If I don't see you in the middle of the week, I'll see you again on Saturday as we do. We'll do some real talk Q&A. But thank you guys for watching, and see you guys later. Have a good night. Thank you.